I've been waiting to play this for a really long time, and I've come a really long way to do it. Having just recently celebrated its 20th anniversary, Shadow Heart's Covenant is to this day a beloved classic, one that many claim to rightfully deserve its place amongst the best in the genre, which is certainly a bold statement, even if you only consider the platform it is on. Developed in just 2 years, during its production, the developer Seknod got rebranded into Nautilus, technically making this their first game, despite being brought together by the same team as the previous one, with Matsuzu Mashida returning as the director and main scenario writer, Miyako Kato as the main character artist, and Yoshitaka Hirota as the composer. Despite being brought overseas as Shadow Heart's Covenant, I shall refer to it by its original title of Shadow Hearts 2. I realized that this was to more easily sell it as a standalone title and not having to worry about possible buyers not being interested because they didn't play the original. But considering how the story from the first one ends up being such a crucial point to the sequel, I think that it ends up being a disservice to the complete series. This also reminds me that I want to give special attention to its release dates. While it was originally released in February of 2004 for Japan, it would only be localized to North America in September of 2004, and even later to Europe in March of 2005. But this is important because the director's cut was released in Japan just one single day before the European release of the original. This version includes some extra new content, and as fate would have it, it stayed an exclusive to Japan, despite parts of the extra content being accessible through hacking, hinting that at some point it was probably considered to be all included in the Western release. As of the time of this video, there isn't a fan translation either, but I still have hope that someday someone will put in the work so that a larger audience can enjoy the complete experience for themselves. Even then, I shall talk about the exclusive content at the exact moment it is presented in the game, so do not worry. I shall do my best to cover the complete adventure. We have a long journey ahead of us, so please, allow me to present you with the excellent game that is Shadow Hearts 2. The story begins only 6 months after the events of the original Shadow Hearts, and with the First World War taking over Europe, we shift our focus to an assault by German forces on Domremy, a small French village which is famously known to be the birthplace of Joan of Arc. As they approach the town's church, they find remnants of their compatriots scattered around, as a warning to not continue forward, but yet they march inside, finally revealing how they're under orders from a hot woman, so it's understandable. I too am not above walking to my death if a hot woman in a uniform told me to. Truly, one of mankind's biggest flaws. Unfortunately, her entrance gets interrupted by a demon crashing into the church, standing up to the troops' offense directly. Let me just check something real quick. Okay. Right. Of course. Yeah, that makes sense. One of the soldiers finally remembers what year it is and quickly shows the woman her place, which the demon doesn't appreciate, so he proceeds to kill everyone around. While the woman is on the ground, having a conflict of interests,
Why am I coming?
some idiot throws a grenade to her face, which only ends up killing everyone but her, as the demon saved her for some reason. Oh, this game's going to be good, I just know it.
Why am I coming?
Bored with all of the commotion, the demon just walks away, only to transform into a normal dude before disappearing, engulfed into the light. Flash forward and we see the woman called Karen having a briefing with her superiors, And it turns out that the demon actually didn't kill anyone, despite everyone getting blasted by a grenade inside a closed space. Power of God anime and all of that.
General, just give me another...
Lieutenant!
God, she's so cute. Please don't get angry at the cutie. She's trying her best, okay? Anyway, what do they decide to do about the demon that never killed anyone and only wants peace for the town? They double down, of course, despite clearly stating that the town is worthless for them. For this, they call on the help of Nikolai, an exorcist from the Vatican, so you know he's for real. But he requires a specific item to help him complete his task. A sacred relic that goes by the name of the Holy Mistletoe, which is kept safe inside a place called the Eight-Pointed Tower, located in the Vatican. As Nikolai so kindly warns Karen, the place is full of monsters, and not even one step in and you get immediately thrown into the tutorial fight, which I will take the opportunity to go over what is new here. It shouldn't be necessary to review the basics, but for those who need a quick refresher, it goes like this. Every action performed is decided by the judgment ring, so hit the correct areas for a successful action, or hit the special areas for better results. If you need a more detailed explanation, please do refer to my video on the previous game. So, what is new here then? First of all, the combat area is no longer static. This means that your attacks influence and are influenced by the character's position. Right away you can see the difference, where instead of a normal attack you are given 4 different options instead. You got Standard, which pushes the enemy backwards, Hard Hit, which knocks them real far away, High Angle juggles them to the air, and Knockdown smashes them to the ground. This is further affected by the enemy's weight class, so no, don't expect to juggle God at the end of the game. You do something much better, but I'm jumping ahead of myself. The use of special abilities, like magic, then become much more thoughtful, as you have to be mindful of how by attacking in one turn might push the enemy too far for the next party member to finish them all off, because the spell doesn't cover enough of the area. While the concept is there, you are still at the mercy of how the characters attack, as you can't actually aim where you're pushing the enemy. On a positive note, this can still work in your favor because the enemies can also push the party together and allow them to combo, which is another new system to the combat. If your active character is in close proximity of another party member, denoted by the blue shadow at their feet, if you attack an enemy and hit the correct button after the judgment ring, you can then follow right after with an action from that party member. When you have a complete party of 4, if you manage to combo with all of the members, the last one will have the option to cast combo magic, and depending on what characters used, you get to pick from one of the correspondent elements. Just have in mind that before using each spell once, you don't actually know what you're casting. Back to the matters at hand, Nikolai gives a tour of the place as he explains that the tower is filled with ghosts, really angry ghosts, which allows Karen to confirm her suspicions that the demon she encountered in Domremy wasn't that evil, at least in comparison, which is an interesting thought to confess to a man of the Vatican.
Could it have been because you were so afraid then?
That may be part of it, but... he... was beautiful.
Bitch, what?
Also,
Also?
he seemed sad.
That man was absolutely caught off guard by that. Like he was the one being offended in the first place, when he was the one that started by calling her a pussy. On the way to the top, they meet with this thing called the Ring Soul, apparently the will of the Judgment Ring, who is aware of the importance of the characters to the story and in return offers 1 attack boost. This is yet another time to jump into explanations on what is new, as Shadow Hearts 2 introduces some much needed change to its main gameplay system, somehow satisfying casual and veteran players alike. Besides depending on items or equipment, you were pretty much at the mercy of the execution of the Judgment Ring, which turned off many fans of the genre because of the necessity for a reflex-based skill in this otherwise critical thinking game. If that was your case, you can now put it in automatic and not get bothered by it. As a counterpart, You can now experiment much further than before, allowing for some crazy setups, should you like to put your ass on the line. The ring customization menu might look intimidating at first, but it's nothing complicated really, so let me walk you through it. First you got the size of both the hit and strike areas, which can be expanded further by using specific items found throughout the game. This is great if you find yourself having trouble hitting a particular area because of the angle of the judgment ring. Next are the add-on effects. You can also find these throughout the game in all kinds of different places, and these can be equipped to give your attack all kinds of special effects like paralysis, petrify, and even instant death. The attack boost that the ring soul gives you is used to increase the number of areas and therefore the amount of attacks. As expected, these go really well for your main damage dealer, but if you are particularly meticulous in your exploring, you'll end up with a pretty good stock of them, so they will eventually find their way to everyone in your active party. The last part, and arguably the most important one, are the ring types. Here you can select between 4 options, the first one being the basic standard judgment ring which we all came to learn and love. The practice ring is great for those who find the system difficult but want to learn how to get better, where even if you miss, it doesn't stop the rotation, but there aren't any strike areas, so you can't get criticals. The technical ring is when things get really interesting, as in exchange for greater power, you have to hit smaller areas, and if you miss even once, your attack is completely negated. If you like to play it fast and loose, you might prefer the gamble ring, where instead of multiple areas, you put it all on the line for one faster rotation that counts as hitting all of the areas on a normal ring. The good thing in all of this is that nothing is permanent, you can just quickly swap all of this between party members as you see fit, as it really incentivizes you to try all the characters and how they synergize with each other. At the same time, if you like to experiment as much as I do, you might get to a point where you intentionally fuck yourself because your party has the most random collection of rings and setups, so you don't know what or how you must hit the judgment ring until it's already spinning. In conclusion, even for someone who doesn't particularly care much about turn-based RPGs because of the pace of their gameplay, this had me engaged on the combat until the very end, and curious to know how they could expand this further in a sequel. Going back to business, Nikolai and Karen reach the room where the relic is kept, only to be revealed that it's being protected by nothing more than one single gargoyle.
I used to be a super boss in the first game, you know?
Man, just put the mistletoe in the bag.
Yes. The ultimate tool for exorcising demons.
Motherfucker, did we just travel 800 miles for a fucking candlestick? Back to Dom Remy, you find that the town is even more hostile than before, as even getting past their neck of the woods gets you accosted by ducks? Holy shit, they know magic. Jesus Christ, a lion! Nikolai, get in the car! After evading several traps, they get to the church and Nikolai immediately demands for the demon to show its true form, leaving Karen disappointed, yet relieved as the demon was none other than our boy Yuri Yuga. Definitely easier to introduce to your parents than Amon, the Grand Marquis of Hell and the seventh spirit of Goetia. In an incredible and predictable twist, the man from the established religious body is actually pretty evil, as he had all the soldiers killed and a little girl kidnapped in order to bargain with Yuri, who has gotten the reputation of being the Godslayer since the last game. Looks like things are not turning out as Nikolai expected, so he calls for his friend Lenny before talking shit again. He then reveals that he was under orders to destroy Albert Simon, the man who brought God down from heaven, but because Yuri got to him first, he is incredibly butthurt, so the excuse is that he's going to kill Yuri before he becomes a problem too. This is all supported by a secret organization called Sapientes Gladio, because if they kill the Godslayer, they get more popular. Why does the secret organization want to get more popular? The fuck? Whoa! Is that a Moser C96? The Red 9? Lady, please, I can only get so erect. Amidst all the kerfuffle, Karen thinks it's a good idea to shoot in the general direction of the child, but that only leads to Nikolai trying to punch her back with a mistletoe, just to get blown back yet again. But unfortunately, this time it was on purpose.
What the hell? What the hell is this?
While this is absolutely hilarious, allow me this moment to quickly address one thing, which is the English dubbing. This was the point where I considered switching to a version of the game with the original Japanese voice acting. But impressive enough, the tone is actually pretty similar. I do like to play my JRPGs with the original cast, but in this case, I believe they did a great job, with some clear exceptions, which I will get into when we get there. Just know that the original cast is rock solid, with Yuri being played by Hiroki Takahashi, famously known by portraying the Street Fighter man himself, and Nikolai is none other than the unmistakable Takehito Koyasu, who brought the latest adaptation of Dio to popularity. Also, Karen is this fucking thing. Okay, back to the plot. But this time in the form of a confusing flashback, so allow me to explain it in its entire context. Unfortunately, Shadow Hearts 2, much like the game before it, continues its story from the bad ending. This means that Alice sacrificed herself to Atman to spare Yuri's soul, and after the final confrontation, she peacefully passed away before arriving at her hometown of Zurich, where Yuri buried her with his own hands. But this is where he met Alice's uncle Geppetto, who decided to accompany him as he wandered to Europe. Coming across the peaceful village of Dom Remy, he befriended a little girl named John and her pet wolf Blanca, and without any other purpose in life, he stuck around to protect them along with the town until the end of his days. But because of who he was, he only brought death to those around him. Waking up from one nightmare into another, Geppetto updates Yuri on the situation, telling him that the town was captured by the Germans, and with Karin having crossed Nikolai, it's best she isn't caught by them either. So they're all in this mess together. Their first plan is to head towards Paris, through the woods, as Geppetto claims to have an apartment there, and they need a place to figure out a way to break the curse from the holy mistletoe. Before leaving, Geppetto offers 3 demon crests which contain magical powers, but turns out Yuri can't use them because he can't remember spells, but apparently the wolf can, so it's fine. And this is another one of the game's systems, and I shall go deeper into it later. But for now, you can think of these as materia from Final Fantasy VII. You give them to characters and they can use specific magic. If you don't want to think too much about it, you can always hit the recommend button for each character and it will sort them out somehow decently. While we're at it, we can also check the description on Geppetto, who unsurprisingly turns out to be a puppeteer who uses a cute puppet called Cornelia, but more on that later. As for now, we have the first true dungeon to go through and my first problem with the game. In the previous game, as all the backgrounds were pre-rendered, they really had to make each screen count, but because the game is now fully 3D, they seem to go overboard with the dungeon design, which is to say that they are simply too big. You can break this into 2 parts. The first is how the blocks that compose the dungeon are too similar, which leads to needless difficulty in exploring because there is barely any standout landmarks that help on creating a mental map. And the second is how the only help you get is this mini-map in the corner of the screen, which hey, that's great, but could you let me see the entire thing at once? You either could have given me a map that would draw itself as we went along exploring, or maybe give an excuse to find an already complete map on each dungeon, but nope. The final kick in the head is that the map they give you isn't even entirely reliable, as there are paths that you can take that are barely seen and don't show up on the minimap. So now, not only you need to figure out your way through all of this clusterfuck, but you'll be paranoid of everything you've missed along the way. Add all this up together with constant barrel interruptions and yeah, you are going to get lost sometimes. But there are exceptions, of course, where the dungeons are pretty good, but most of them suffer from this problem and, well, gotta deal with it, because I guarantee you that the rest of the game is worth it. And this forest also tries to set the precedent that you can solve dungeons in multiple ways, as here you can solve a puzzle to lower a bridge, or acquire a battery to power an elevator, but unfortunately that rarely happens in the entire game. Maybe I'm just impatient, but considering what you need to do later on to see all of the content, it really seems like all of this is just a way to make you buy a guide with all the maps and the item locations. But whatever, so are the things at the time. Back to the plot. As the group approaches the exit of the forest, Yuri passes the fuck out and wakes up inside the graveyard. The inside of his soul, where a tree took root in the center of it all, where a copy of himself seems to have been merged into it.
There's a tree here. Whoa, what's going on here inside my soul?
This fucking guy.
That's me growing there. Hey, hold on a minute, what the hell does this mean? What's going on here?
While Yuri is completely oblivious to the concept of retrospection, you are free to explore around until you discover that now you can use the monster souls that you collect from enemies to release and power up each elemental power the way you see fit, no longer forced to grind for specific elemental monsters to level up individually. This is a great change until you realize that the fire fusion is absolutely busted, and now you barely have any footage of the other fusions because this one carried you until the end of the game. I do want to give some deserved attention to the early fusion designs, which shall have the monster parts come through Yuri's body in a halfway state, like he's still fighting against it, retaining certain human elements to him, which looks pretty cool. While Yuri is doing some much needed soul searching, Karen is still doing some market research.
Is he human? Or maybe...
She and Yuri were lovers. He dug her grave with his own hands. We've both lost people in our lives. We just try to live as best we can.
with his own hands. Wow.
Why am I coming?
Because of the curse of the mistletoe, Yuri lost all of his fusion powers from the previous game, because of course that's how these things usually go. And now the malice contained within is kind of overflowing, so that is a problem. And that means that spiders made out of fingers might pop out of the boy sometimes, which, while an absolutely horrifying thing, it keeps up with the fantastic monster designs that were a staple from the first game. Using your refurbished new powers, you kick its ass and Yuri finally reveals what he is to Karen, which only multiplies the sexual tension between them.
I can change into a monster, okay?
Anyway,
Before arriving in Paris, Yuri finds out that Jean is living inside of his soul until she can find something that is residing inside of him, but which she refuses to reveal what it is. Now in Paris, Geppetto tries to look into the holy mistletoe, but he can't find anything they don't already know. Holy shit! Look at that resolution on that book. Why is it so high quality?
Is there some way to fix it? Well, you've got to do something.
I think you're screwed. Oh, ow, stop, let go.
After some funny hijinks, Karen reveals her plans to go all out for Yuri's demon cock by cranking the sex appeal as hard as it could go, and also because going around Europe in German military attire during a world war is probably not a good idea. But mostly the sex thing, yeah. Curious enough, by checking her new character profile, it reveals that the clothes belong to Geppetto's late daughter. Speaking of clothes, can't believe Yuri is rocking the K-Dash fit. One of his early designs even has a cross in the back, so it's not that much of a stretch. And no throwing sunglasses at enemies though, as Yuri prefers to throw his punches directly. As there is no solution in sight from the old man, Yuri decides that it's time to go ask for help from someone who has been alive long enough to know these types of things. But for that, they have to go to Wales, and unfortunately, there is still a world war going on, and that makes traveling around pretty hard. So it's time to take the scenic route. Geppetto, knowing that the situation is only getting worse, recommends Karen to go back home, but she isn't letting go of that demon cock so easily, and neither does Gapiente Sladio, as they have sent some guys to specifically crash through the apartment windows. And that can be easy on the deposit. So Karen demonstrates she's pretty good with swords, especially rapiers. So Geppetto gives her an opera script, and she learns cool sword magic. No more Mauser, unfortunately, that stayed with the previous outfit. Before you leave, Yuri automatically grabs a key item off the floor, which turns out to be a collectible card of Gay Erotica. And even worse is that you get an extra one if you have a save file from the previous game. Can't believe this is what I get for playing the series in order. What this is for will have to be explained later, as of right now they must find a way out of Paris because every street is crawling with enemies, which I find it to be pretty accurate. It's the city of love, because I would love to never go there in my life. While the dungeons might repeat a bit too much, the unique locales are absolutely wonderful. There is something really comfortable in the way they portray Paris at dusk, with the golden hour bathing the worn down city in such a beautiful way. As resourceful as ever, Geppetto turns out to have a friend who suggests that they use the abandoned subway tunnels to go unnoticed. But to know the way, they have to talk to another one of his friends, who is the engineer responsible for the construction work. While you get ready to leave the area, a gentleman named Ernest stops Yuri to praise his wolf, as it was the tradition back then. Yuri, please don't go starting shit at every opportunity. Well, that is enough of an excuse to get into some wolf fighting scheme called the Wolf Bout, a competition to find the world's strongest wolf. You even get a stamp card to fill with each paw print, so you know it's legit. Surely this will be a fun adventure and not a side quest that will make me lose my fucking mind. After a subway trip into another area, and before you can explore around, you are roped into interacting with a new flamboyant pair wearing matching vests and disco pants. These are the Magimal brothers, who of course are also Geppetto's old friends from his performance days. And now they're going to be our friends too. Gerard buys and sells supplies, and as a starting incentive he offers you the classic discount card, which now works much better than the previous iteration. Instead of having to find extra cards throughout the world to increase the discount and markup rates, you level up your membership by buying stuff, which comes more naturally as you progress. Furthermore, instead of having to spin the judgment ring for each increase in the discount, you now only have to spin it once for the total. Certainly a big improvement that I can appreciate, although the last discount is still a troll bitch to nail down consistently. As for Pierre, he is a tailor who uses his skills to make additional dresses for Cornelia, but instead of money, he only accepts these so-called stud cards, which he uses to get inspiration for his work. Yes, you use the collectible erotica cards to get tiny dresses for the old man's puppet. Each dress gives him specific elemental magic, with my favorite being the Gothic Lolita one, the one which of course gives you the dark elemental magic. I might be reaching out for this one, but the serialization of Rosen Maiden started at the same time as the development of Shadow Hearts 2, so I'm not saying they are related, just that the connection to the inspiration seems to be highly possible. Getting back on track, you go to a certain hotel and meet up with a subway expert, which agrees to help an old friend by allowing them access into the tunnels, and after getting in, you see how Sharpientes Dadio are still mucking around looking for Yuri, spoiling the surprise that a certain Veronica has set up a trap for them underground. Unfortunately, the real trap is having to deal with this fucking dungeon. In retrospective, it really isn't that bad, you just need to find a replacement fuse to move a train out of the way, because God forbid that they shimmy their asses through the clear fucking openings on both sides of the train, but whatever. The solution is moving another thing out of the way so you can pop out near an antique shop, buy the fuse, go back down and move the train car. For all of this trouble, you get rewarded with some silly-ass minecart segment, which might be the ideal time to talk about something else that bothers me. In tandem with the new option to automate the judgment ring, the general tone of the game drastically shifted away from its darker horror aspects as an answer to the overall response being that the story was too grim. This resulted in such an overcorrection that now each time the story seems to go somewhere interesting, you get it with some slapstick humor to lighten up the mood, like the characters are aware of their mere existence and how afraid they are that the player might turn off the game because it's too serious. I'm not saying that jokes or gags are inherently bad, as the previous game also had a lot of that. It's just that they went 2 steps too far, and now the horror in this horror RPG is severely toned down. One of the clearest examples of this is the Ring Soul character, the one that you first meet in Appointed Tower with Karin and Nikolai. He appears as this servant of the inner machinations of reality. You know, that typical trope of the omnipotent force which sees and knows all, and has mysterious reasons to help the party of heroes achieve a greater good. But as you go around meeting up with him throughout the game, he quickly becomes this long-running gag of, "But what if he was just a normal person though?" Where Yuri and Karin don't take him seriously, so he gets all depressed, and then Yuri has to cheer him up, as it slowly opens up to them and they become friends. But then he reveals that he has a wife and daughter, and Yuri for some reason really wants to know what his wife is like. So this leads into the Ring Soul role-playing as her while doing the usual mythical spill, and then he roleplays as his daughter, and then his wife shits on him, and if you find this funny, more power to you. But this drags for 16 different parts, and by the 4th one I was already tired of it. And by the end, the rewards are not even worth it. But this is not to say that I hate all the humor that is present in the game, because I can guarantee you that there are some parts that caught me laughing pretty good. Anyway, after the cart ride you get introduced to the rival pair of tits from Sipiniet Gladius. You can clearly see what's her gimmick, so I won't dwell too much into it. She summons the pair of demons Castor and Pollux, but they really aren't much to talk about, so you beat their ass. Veronica claims that the next time she'll totally get them, and then runs away. With this, we finally get out of Paris and arrive at the quaint little port town of, however you pronounce this, where you might be able to find a boat to take you to England, but as one would expect, the ride won't be cheap, so they get recommended to talk to the mayor of the town because he's looking to recruit someone to do some vigilante work. As all of this wasn't enough of a detour, on your way to the mayor you can find the first member of the World Lottery Association, back yet again at full force to make you spin for prizes, but at least now you get tickets out of the ass, so the save scumming shouldn't be that necessary. Meeting up with the totally not suspicious mayor, you are told that there is a bandit going around, and if you get him you can get a nice reward. I love how this fucking guy just gives a full glance at Karin and then has to squat near a chair for one full sentence before recovering from that. Before leaving, you can talk to the rest of the goon squad to discover that the bandit can use anything he picks up as a weapon, and that he can put people on special holds, so it's obvious that this is going to be another silly ass thing. Lo and behold, the silly ass thing.
What happened here?
Who's that?
When the forces of darkness descend, in the name of justice, this fist! In the name of truth, these muscles! In the name of honor, this blood! Ha ha! Champion of truth and justice, Grand Papillon, ready to fight all evildoers! If you can face the unfettered fury of my rippling muscles, then come on!
What? Huh?
For some reason, Kid's brother the one that gives his best weapon at the end of his side quest, is now here, and is playing it up in France as a wrestler. While it would be for the best if you could just move on from this, the mayor then tells you to go down to a certain tavern before he pays you, revealing that he knew all along who this Grand Papillon was, revealing his real name to be Joachim. Cutting a long story short, there were rumors that the treasure was hidden under the tavern, but the old lady who's now the owner doesn't want the mayor to mess up the place. So this dude has been protecting the tavern and... wait a minute, isn't this kid's plotline all over again? You kick the collective ass of the mayor and his goon squad, only to come back to the tavern and realize that they kidnapped the kids, and will only let them free when the old lady gives them the deed for the tavern. I can't believe we're doing this, but here we are, ain't we? You know, I might as well confess it now, but the only reason I ever got interested in this game in the first place was when I saw that it had a cute girl with massive breasts in the cover. Alas, I got myself in this long-term pickle because of tits, and the only respite I can get out of that conclusion is that, for better or for worse, that's the story of mankind in general. But have you seen how big they are though? The next dungeon is a wine cellar where you must lower stairs to progress, likely because the old man can't climb over all of these wine barrels. During this section, you are forced to control Joachim and watch him run around like he's just shat his pants. Might as well point out how he sometimes turns into his masked form, a golden bat, or just completely invisible at random. And by that, I mean that the trigger is related to the battle encounter number, but I used him so little that I couldn't even be bothered to research about it further. Anyway, when you get to the end, it is revealed that Veronica was behind the kidnapping all along.
You with the silly outfit! How dare you take my family!
I don't even know why, but that delivery kills me. Yes, we are doing this Saturday morning cartoon bullshit. You have to fight Veronica with just Joachim at first, but then she fucks off again and you have to fight the demon of the week. Moving on, you go back to town. The mayor and the good squad have learned their lesson, so they offer a cheap ride for free, and the old lady actually gives you the treasure that was hidden beneath the tavern. This is revealed to be the Key of Solomon, the famous grimoire that is said to contain the information on when and how to summon the 72 demons. Do you still remember those demon crests that Geppetto gave to Yuri at the start? Well, there are 72 of them to collect, and they're all over the place. So I hope you like rubbing yourself across every corner of every map, and talking to everyone twice and sometimes even thrice, because the location for some of these are absolutely ridiculous. This unlocks a new option on the menu to open the grimoire, revealing a huge map divided into 9 sections. Each demon belongs to one, and if you have an entire set you can try placing them in the correct order by analyzing the description on each crest. Should you complete a section of the map with all the demons in the correct places, you unlock new magic for those specific crests. Honestly, this has to be one of my favorite parts of the game. Finding new crests and trying to figure out where to put them was really fun, but as you can only finish this after completing pretty much the rest of the game, I will leave the thrilling conclusion to its appropriate time. Right back to the plot, and of course, Joachim is coming with you because he wants to travel the world, fight strong warriors and maybe meet his teacher once again. Finally, you can leave France behind, only to arrive to the port of Southampton and be told that the heavy rains have caused a landslide that blocked the road out of there. Before trying to find a solution, the party goes to take shelter in the rain, only to find some kerfuffle going on. But before Yuri can meddle into this one too, he is stopped by a mysterious diplomat. Holy shit! It's Bruce Campbell! No wait, it's Kato. This Kato. The one who confessed his love to Lieutenant Kawashima, who was murdered soon after over some political bullshit. Man, this dude locked in like he was on a mission. Look at the size of that chin. How the hell does one get so buff being a diplomat? Overhearing their conversation, some dude says that he just came from Wales, and despite Kato throwing the biggest stink eye in this direction, the group hears him out, as he claims there is an abandoned mine in Ronda that they can use to get across, but that the place is seemingly haunted. Of course, the party shows some rational concern, but Yuri calls everyone a pussy and this somehow makes Karen sleep that she is actually a descendant of German nobility. Taking a bit of a pause, Geppetto and Karen get wasted, and Yuri takes the opportunity to talk personally with Caro once more. He explains the ultimate fate of Alice, bonding over the loss of their loved ones, with Yuri even admitting that he's aware that he's just playing up a facade. Caro is clearly up to something too, as he briefly reacts to the name of the secret society that put the curse on Yuri, but they eventually wish each other good luck and part ways. Stepping into the graveyard for a second, Jeanne reveals that she can hear a sad voice from Yuri's heart, as she reveals that she is here to find his happiness, or what that means to him. Despite still trying to keep up with his cheerful antics, she knows that in reality he is living aimlessly because Alice's sacrifice made him feel like he must live no matter what. As all of that will keep John busy for a long time, it's back to the waking world, where it's not raining anymore. Before departing to the mine, two things in this little town. One of them is this man that gives you some dried up straw, and explains how he got rich by starting with nothing but one single strand of straw. Yep, this is a long ass side quest, so I'll leave it for later too. The other thing is the start of Joachim's big quest of bullshit. Just outside of the tavern, there's a wrestling ring set up, and the man responsible being none other than Joachim's teacher, the Great Gamma. So of course he takes on the opportunity to show all that he has learned so far. After an intense battle, Joachim learns a new skill, and you bet that this is going to be a recurring thing, together with the unique way that he can get new weapons. Remember when the Goon Squad said he could use anything he picked up as a weapon? Well, sometimes you'll do just that. You go around exploring, and as soon as he looks at something that he can carry over his shoulder, you'll go into this comedy routine of how much spirit is contained in these mundane items, with these ranging from mailboxes, sewer pipes, pillars, and all of that nonsense. With Joachim powered up, it's time to visit the mines, and you guessed it, this is another bitch of a dungeon to navigate. The gimmick here is that there is a part that is too dark to navigate, so you must find an oil lamp to be able to go through it. When you get to the center of it all, you find that what caused the mines to be abandoned was some cool ass demon that... Wait a second, let me just... Certainly a bold choice. Of course, you beat his ass, and finally, after hours of getting sidetracked by a bunch of bullshit, you get your ass to Wales, near a familiar yet very different place. After the final boss in the previous game, all that is left from the Nematon Monastery is a crater, so for Karen and everyone else who isn't up to date on the facts, Yuri pulls out these adorable drawings that he scribbled himself. Oh god, look how cute he made Alice. With that in mind, that weird tower thing can only be Roger's Bacon's house, despite being even more eccentric than the last time. Seriously, the inside looks like it was designed by American McGee. Just look at this thing. Despite searching all over the place for him, Bacon Man is nowhere to be found, and when they go to leave on empty hands, Lenny shows up to talk shit, only to fall for the classic comedy shtick of, where is he? I can tell you. So you don't know. I do know. Wow, you totally don't know. Of course I know. That sounds like something that someone that doesn't know would say. This makes Lenny really angry, so you have a quick fight against him, and he ends up running away, giving the opportunity for a new character to appear. This one is called Thomas, a self-proclaimed British explorer who conveniently seems to know some important exposition regarding a certain secret society. Of how a series of murders occurred throughout Europe, involving high-ranked officials, and that this secret society might be involved. Thomas wants to find out who is the leader behind them, so he offers the group a clue that there is a certain fortune teller named Carla living in Florence who used to have a connection to that society. So without any other option, the group goes to Italy. But luckily this time, with no detours. Excuse me, whoa! Was purple in vogue back then or something? Now the situation is that for Carla to help the group, she requires something in exchange. and while a sexy dance in a see-through outfit was on the table, Karin would rather get some stupid-ass flower. To help you, Carla sends her apprentice Lucia to accompany you, who is another hot piece of ass that is the most busted party member in the entire game, so bless the developer for that, cause I'm never taking it off of my party. I might as well explain why right now than later, so here we go. In par with her job as a fortune teller and exotic dancer, she uses the power of tarot to fuck shit up, be that in your favor or against it. She starts with only a few cards available, but you can find the rest on your journey. And this can be more detrimental than anything else, because for each battle you can only pull one card, and when you got a full deck, the chance of getting a specific card diminishes. Yes, some of the things you can get here are absolutely ridiculous, like restoring all allies completely, increasing your attack power, causing enemies to skip turns, or even killing all of them instantly. These are even crazier because you can pull a card with special effects, which essentially doubles the effect of the card, so now you're increasing your attack power by 4 times, or multiplying the cash you have by 4. Or the craziest of them all is multiplying the cash, experience and soul energy that you receive from that battle by 4. I managed to pull this exactly once for a boss, and oh baby, jackpot! This is all great until you realize that you can also pull reverse cards, which are pretty self-explanatory. But you know, they could have probably put a warning here that says, might cause entire party to die. Not even items that stop that will work here. If you pull a reverse special death card, that is it. Hope you saved recently. Of course, all of this gambling might be too much for the majority of the players, so her other ability is what makes her consistently good. By combining 2 different types of oils, she can use the powers of aromatherapy to help with the party's performance. These include the obvious restoration of health and mana, curing status ailments and buff specific attributes. But the best one is when you combine the moon and grass oil in that order, which boosts critical rate by 1.5 times for 1 turn. I haven't mentioned it yet, but the reason as to why Yuri's fire fusion is so powerful is because it can quickly acquire the skill Energy Charge, which can increase Yuri's physical attack to a maximum of 150% in its next turn. These 2 are unique buffs, which means that another party member can stack an additional general buff that increases physical attack even further. Now, I might be bad at math, but these seem to be some pretty high numbers. But wait, it can get even better if you have Yuri at the maximum number of attacks together with the Technical Ring, which further boosts the effects of the Judgment Ring. In conclusion, do you realize what all of this setup means?
That's what we like to call big damage.
And this is not even counting the rare keys that you can use to let you spin the ring multiple times, as if the beatdown wasn't severe enough. Ooh, damn, that was a long explanation. But now you know how all the bosses are going to be dealt with from this point onward. I mean, all but one, but we talk about that when we get there. Before leaving Florence, you get hit by what seems to be another one of the city's staples, the Crazy Walking Society. That's right, they are back, and they want you once again to count your steps in the dangerous places where you can get random encounters. As the best prize from this is similar to the previous game, you'll probably want to equip this to one of your active party members, otherwise it won't count towards the total. The good thing is that not only you can find an extra accessory that doubles your count, but also another one that triples it, so that severely reduces the work you must put in for this side quest, but more on that later. Just off the coast of Italy is the Man Mariana Island, one of the few places where the required flower grows, so that's our next stop. It might have taken some time, but 7 hours later and we finally get to the first great dungeon of the game. It has a beautiful, unique aesthetic, some interesting puzzles, and overall it's pretty short and sweet. Despite Lucia having joined the party to help, she can't exactly remember where the flower is growing, so you must go around trying to find it for yourself. For that, you have to solve several puzzles related to fortune telling, even one which uses blood type, which I haven't seen used outside of Japan, so it's a bit silly for this to be right here. Now please, enjoy this legendary cutscene.
That is one giant pussy.
So rarely can you find a moment in life where, despite everyone involved in the process living such different lives from each other, it all culminates in a shared concept we can all instantly resonate with, through the collective unconscious, surpassing even the barrier of time and space. As soon as I saw that giant kitty, I only needed the first frame to know exactly what this motherfucker was about to say. And despite being presented with such a natural flow, it got me so hard that I couldn't even pay attention to the rest of the cutscene, because I was crying so hard from laughter. Laughing so hard that I thought for a moment that I was going to throw up. For this one single, yet eternal moment of pure joy, I give this game the perfect score of 10 out of 10. Yes, the gang does beat down that giant pussy, as a matter of fact. One could even, perhaps, call it a gangbang, but let's not. Lucia then clarifies that they thought they were goons sent by Serpentes Claudio to kill them, who they usually take to the giant pussy who takes care of the problem. I guess that's why he got so big. Anyway, they all go back to Carla, and she reveals that the real flower she wanted never existed there in the first place, so she gives you one demon crest as an apology. She then explains of how she became part of the secret society, of how she was tired of being used by men, and as women usually do when that happens, she joined the cult. But then she realized that the cult had too much cult stuff going on, and she tried to get away from it all, only to have them constantly on her ass for the rest of her life. How she decided that opening a fortune teller house in one of the most popular capitals of the world would be a good hiding spot, I don't know. And with all of this, Lucia is now a permanent party member, because I guess it's time for her to take a trip around the world too. Without further ado, you go directly to the headquarters of the Italian branch of the Secret Society, which, what the hell, are they a franchise or something? Almost like a miracle, we get another pretty cool segment, even if it's not entirely a dungeon, more of a puzzle mystery thing, where you must go around this secret house, solving your way to the end. There is also a book here about farting, because of course there is. I don't even know why I'm surprised about it. And another one about trying to come 3 times in a row, which, did I write for this game? When you get to the end, the gang doesn't find anything other than the balls demon, which is fucking nuts. Like, the cojones on this guy to try to beat off Yuri in a physical match, absolutely crazy. Afterwards, as the most rational conclusion to this whole segment, Nikolai blows a hole in a building with an airship just to speak directly to Yuri, expressing how disappointed he is that the curse of the mistletoe seems to be taking so long, which makes him reveal that they're keeping the Bacon Man in St. Margaret Island, but in exchange they want the emigre document who Yuri and Bacon have took into hiding somewhere. In case new players are confused, when regrouping back at Carla, Yuri pulls once again out of his drawings to explain the previous game's plotline. It appears that I've written the 3 books separately, but forget about the other 2. What Nikolai wants is the emigre document, and that one is hidden away, deep in the crater where the Nemeton monastery was. Without further ado, here we are. As we can see that the place underneath has changed once again, looking all fancy now. As Yuri said, the place is crawling with monsters, but worse than that is how you must solve block puzzles by changing their colors and slide from place to place to get where you need to. Could have been worse, and yet it could have also been much better. As you go deeper into the dungeon, Karen starts hearing voices, claiming it's her grandmother and that she needs her help, so Yuri has to step in to help. I guess that works too, because after calming down, she comes forward about her roots, asking if Yuri would visit her hometown with her in the future, which she accepts, because that never led to anything bad. After some puzzles involving stairs, light, and a whole lot of walking, you arrive at the place where a space jellyfish is guarding the book, so you also beat its ass and get the emigre document yet again. Yuri passes the fuck out, coming to realize deep in his soul that this was the book that so many have tried to use to revive the dead, as images of Alice rush through his mind. Certainly, this will all turn well for him. Off to St. Margaret Island, but as they can't go directly to it, they must make a quick stop at the close-by town of Cannes. While exploring for a solution, you can find a certain Mr. Croft who loves treasure and will give you a hint to find some that he has personally hidden. This is another side quest that you can only finish completely much later, so I'll save it for the end, like the other ones. Somehow the group stumbles into the guy that helped the secret society transporting Bacon into the island, so they pressure him to help them out, which he agrees by letting them use his boat, plus the key to open the waterway to get inside. And this is where we take our first peek at the extra content in the director's cut of the game. As when you depart for the island, you are momentarily given control of Nikolai, Lenny and Veronica as they go deep into the Nakash temple. Overall, it's a pretty small section, yet really satisfying, especially because you can use Lenny and Veronica as playable characters. So that's a nice little addition. This all culminates in a fight against the Nuklavi, who's guarding a ring which Nikolai wants to forge a pact with the demon. But what that demon is, will have to be revealed later. Back onto the original game, the gang arrives at St. Margaret Island, which, in case you didn't know, it is the historic island where Leonardo DiCaprio was once imprisoned. Like there wasn't enough going on, a wolf comes out of nowhere and snatches the key to the entrance, escaping through a small passage in the wall, so you chase it with Blanca, kick his ass, and retrieve back the key. But from one problem into another, they all get paralyzed by some perfume Veronica created, which lets them just take the emigrate document and call it a day. Of course, instead of killing them all and preventing future problems, Nikolai lets Veronica do whatever the hell she wants, as she throws them all into prison for the moment. It's also revealed that both Lucia and Veronica were students of Carla, but they seem to hate each other right now.
Hey, Whip Lady!
Ouch! Why'd you hit me?
Yeah, okay, that got me. All of this leads to what appears to be another one of the city's staples, the torture scene. But this time, you get to choose who will be sacrificed. The problem here is that you don't really know who you're picking until after you have chosen, so of course, I had to reload to pick a better option. Just like the first game, you get rewarded if you pick the right answer, which in this case is always the first option. But even if you miss this, it's entirely fine, as all that you get from it is the next tier of weapon for the person who gets tortured. Just a nice little bonus to help you in this place. In the meantime, Nikolai decides it's time to return the book to their master, so he leaves the island to Veronica and Lenny to take care of the rest. And now, you must control Blanca and rescue everyone. This includes fighting against a French wolf for the wolf bout, and playing a stealth section that goes way too long for its own good. This game truly is the gift that keeps on giving. This only gets worse because after such a long section, you have to fight a boss that causes poison as his main gimmick, and you don't have any way to know that in advance, so you will probably die here the first time and then be forced to do the previous section all over again. Anyway, with this done, Blanca rescues everyone, and by that I mean literally everyone. Why are you all just staring at it? Go help the dog open the rest of them! So now the problem is actually getting to Bacon, as he is kept in a special cell, but on your way there, you meet the prison's locksmith, which got locked in after they didn't need him anymore. As revenge, he says that he can help you by creating a key, but for that, you need some items, so you quickly go around the prison to grab them. You will probably find where Bacon is kept while exploring around, so when you get the key done, you can just head straight up there, revealing that Lenny and Veronica were expecting them here so that they could corner them. Why didn't he just leave the fucking door open in the first place then? The absolute audacity of these people. Yuri then tries to pull the same gag on Veronica, but she isn't that stupid, and a big fight ensues, culminating in yet another fight against Lenny, who, tired of playing games, starts shooting lightning and then becomes some sort of Resident Evil, so of course his ass gets kicked and he falls through the hole in the wall that he just made for no damn reason. Finally, after being tired of being the man in the iron mask, Roger Bacon is presented as his usual quirky self. even repeating the same renaming gag from the previous game, with the UI even looking the same. Kinda weird how he was looking all prim and proper in the previous game, and now he's back to some old monk robes. He gets pretty bummed out that despite maintaining silence through torture, the emigre manuscript ended up in Nikolai's hands, but Yuri is pretty confident they can get it back, so they get back to Khan for some additional exposition. In summary, there were a lot of secret societies in the turn of the 20th century, but Saliente Galdio was the best and the coolest, at least until a certain man joined them and started to preach some pretty radical ideas. Before he finishes explaining what they wanted with him and the emigre manuscript, they go back to Wales just so Bacon could show how he built an entire airship powered by nuclear fusion. Yeah, you know what? Fuck it, why not? When was the last time you played a JRPG that had an airship? Yeah, that's the true reason why the genre is declining. All of this is so that you can chase after Nikolai, who went into Petrograd in Russia, where his master is currently residing. In case you didn't know, Petrograd is currently called St. Petersburg and is the second largest city in Russia. As they ride into the sunset, Bacon finally reveals that the leader of Salpiment Radio is none other than Grigoris Rasputin, and his goal is to take control of the Russian Empire. Now, I don't know about you, but there are only 3 things that I know about Rasputin. He can fire an RPG while running at 56 miles per hour, he really wants to start Ragnarok, and he's Russia's greatest love machine. A really prolific person, as you can see. Without wasting any time, he is introduced by probing at least one of those points true, as Veronica is seen waking up naked, presumably in his bed. Either that, or he just likes to hang around sleeping people. Either way, he is currently doing what he's supposed to be doing, which is gaining the trust of the royal family by curing the only heir to the throne of a terrible disease. Before parting ways, Rasputin asks Veronica to keep an eye on Nikolai, as he seems to be making secret negotiations with the Japanese. Of course, as the tone might be getting too serious for too long, the game shows the outside perspective of a little girl spying on their conversation, suspicious that Rasputin is not everything he says it is, as she intends to reveal his facade to her father, who after a quick profile visit, reveals that she is none other than Princess Anastasia Romanov. I don't know why she has 2 big-ass regaifas hanging on from her head, but whatever, must be a royalty thing. For her plan to work, she asks Edgar, the trusty clockmaker and friend of the royal family, to make her a camera. And when she goes to leave, she stumbles into our guy Karo, who appears to be visiting Russia for some reason. After roaming around Petrograd for a bit, Anastasia stumbles into Rasputin having a secret meeting, so she pulls her big-ass camera to take a photo, which of course gives away her presence because of the loud-ass shutter. Ironically, not one to fuck around, Rasputin just orders his friend to murder her by sending a demon after her. Lucky for the girl, our boy Yuri is just strolling around nearby, and everyone gangs up on the poor demon who doesn't even know what hits him. As this is her first battle, we might as well go over what she brings to the party. First of all, her main method of attacking involves using a special type of mechanical Fabergé egg, which while pretty crazy, it's on par with what you would expect from the interpretation of this historic figure for a JRPG. As for her main ability, she uses her trusty camera to reveal enemy stats like main element and how much HP they have, something that is definitely useful to plan your strategies accordingly. Moreover, when she takes photographs of specific enemies, she then can summon them to use their unique skills in her favor. There are exactly 10 skills she can learn like this, and without a guide, your only way of knowing if an enemy will give you a skill is trying to get Instagram famous and take photos of everything. Oh, is that an Eldritch Order? Let me just set up the tripod real quick. In summary, she's a blue mage, in case her overall design didn't spoil it right away. After the kerfuffle, you take Anastasia back to Edgar for some quick exposition by what is quickly established as this bitch of a princess. You do see Yuri playing with Blanca, so that's cute. Rasputin seems to have something planned for the victory reception of the Tsar, and as their interests cross over, the gang agrees to help Anastasia putting a stop on Rasputin's bullshit. Somewhere else close by, we got a scene of Nikolai meeting with Karo, reading the emigre manuscript and revealing that in exchange for it, Japan will fully support whoever the next Russian emperor might be. Back to the royal palace with Anastasia, and her mother isn't fully biting into this ragtag group of strangers having saved her daughter, but it doesn't matter because Rasputin shows up and convinces her to trust them, if not just to give them all some privacy to talk, as things begin to heat up and Yuri is about to throw hands. But because you haven't had the opportunity to save in a while, he says that he would prefer to not ruin the palace, so he leaves for the moment. Anastasia shows her discontent toward the royalty that keeps celebrating and acting like nothing is wrong around them, while the country is falling apart.
I'm half Russian, you know. My mother was born and bred in Russia.
Excuse me, your mom was what now? As all of this wasn't enough, now Veronica has filled the palace with sleeping gas, so you got to find her first, then slap her shit. But before you can do just that, Rasputin sends a voicemail through Anastasia's mother, telling them to hurry up, or her brother gets it, like they weren't going there in the first place. On the way there, you face the friend of Rasputin who sent the demon after Anastasia, so you kick his ass too as a warm-up. Unfortunately, when you find Rasputin, he feels the need to first discuss politics with the child, and when Yuri finally had enough, he starts throwing punches, which all end up being useless as a little tag on the mistletoe sends memories of the pre-rendered days, making Yuri so embarrassed that he passes out. Like it wasn't enough, Rasputin also feels the need to mention how Nikolai has the odds for Karen, like that is going to help with something now. Furthermore, he shares how her hometown of Munich has been destroyed, which she doesn't take well. With everyone now present, Rasputin mind controls Anastasia, and with the power of convenient timing, releases everyone of their hypnosis, just in time for the Empress to catch Anastasia trying to kill her brother. Of course, I guess we're doing this trope now. Well, time to jump out of the window. Looks like Russia is, ironically, too hot right now, so the gang takes a quick trip to Turkey, as Bacon Man reveals to have found the location of the original founder of Soy Kente Sadio, the one person who might know the secret to Rasputin's power. Despite the initial awkward reception, Thomas shows up once again, which Lucia calls Lawrence for some reason. Lo and behold, his real identity is Edward Lawrence, an agent to the British Intelligence Bureau, and he was the one that helped find the founder of the secret society. Before you can meet him, however, you get interrupted by a woman named Sarah, who proclaims that she can see demons surrounding the group, which Yuri mistakes by her talking about ghosts. It seems that the worst thing for Yuri, besides riding boats, are ghosts, which he makes a clear distinction as being different from regular monsters. Sarah then introduces herself as the maid to the great King Solomon, and with that you might already know where this is going. This is another long-winded side quest, and one that you can only truly complete after you're done with everything else in the game, so of course I'm leaving this one for later. As of now, we have to meet up with Bishop Jovis, who really doesn't want any of this old business, but after an outburst from Anastasia, he turns more receptive towards the cause. He also points to Yuri, as he reveals that he can see the soul of an old friend residing inside of the boy, but it appears to have been contained by the powers of the mistletoe. As expected, you get some of that cutscene exposition, which in summary explains how things went bad between Bishop Jovis and his friend when he took a young Rasputin as his apprentice, who quickly became too powerful to the point where neither of them could stop him, so he became the leader of the society just like that. The reason he is so powerful is that he made a pact with the king of demons, Asmodeus, which made him lose himself along the way. In case you weren't paying attention, it is finally revealed that the bishop's old friend is none other than Cardinal Albert Simon, and that the whole thing of trying to stop what was going to happen to humanity actually was referring to the specific threat of Rasputin, and with Yuri having defeated the Cardinal, he possesses the power of Amon, which is equal to the power of Rasputin, so he can use that to stop him. The problem is that the mistletoe has that on hold, so he literally has to do some soul searching to solve that. The bishop warns him that failure in doing so might result in breaking his own sanity, but that he will accompany him on his journey. But with Karen still horny as fuck, she volunteers to go with him instead, even if it means risking death. Without much ceremony, they take a nice nap together after some banter, and after arriving at the graveyard in Yuri's soul, he first has to explain why there is a little girl running around inside them. and then they find their way into the House of Mirrors, which unfortunately brings us back to the old long and monotonous type of dungeon. And this is where we must jump into the director's cut once again, where a new brief cutscene shows Lucia detecting the presence of someone who reveals to be Veronica. She came all the way to Turkey to try to convince her to join their forces, but she kindly tells her to fuck off, knowing that the next time that they would meet, they would be enemies once more. Back to Yuri and Karin in the fun House of Mirrors. Here you have to traverse some long ass corridors and fight yourself so that you can go to an alternate flipped version of the house, until you get to the end where Yuri gets to face his old demons, even deserving some special music to go with it. Nothing too hard, because these demons are still weak to getting punched, so you get that done fairly quickly, and afterwards it is time to meet up with an old familiar face. Just like John, the soul of Albert is now peacefully resting inside of his own soul, so they take the opportunity to have a little heart-to-heart. By hearing his real intentions directly, he realizes that they weren't so different after all, as both fought to uphold what they believed to be right for themselves and for the greater good. Despite Yuri showing some concern of not being able to hold the necessary power to change the future, Albert reminds him that he had the power to stop a god with his own will, and with that, Yuri finally receives the soul of Amon. While all of this was happening, Rasputin was being updated on current politics by Nikolai, and Yuri and Karin are having a moment together as the bishop is currently struggling for his life. When he finally comes to, he realizes that he doesn't have much longer to live, so he warns Yuri that someone else made a pact with the other only demon that can face Rasputin, and that they need to be careful. The game then tries to make me feel sad for his death, but come on, I barely knew the guy. With all of that done, the Tsar is finally back to Petrograd and celebrations are in order, but he's too worried about the safety of Anastasia, and while she is just by the entrance, she can stroll back in because the guards still believe her to be a traitor. While exploring around, Yuri collapses as usual so that John can give him his latest news. From this point forward, if he brings these special soul drops that are hidden throughout the world, he can offer them to an elemental altar inside the graveyard, so then he can fight a powerful demon and acquire the last fusion of that element. The problem once again is how the locations of these soul drops are too difficult to find if you don't have a guide. But no matter, that is a problem for the future me, as of right now we need to find another entrance to the palace. And wouldn't you know it, there is a secret passage under the streets by entering what is called the Gallery of Dead, a set of catacombs which, you guessed it, are a total bitch to navigate. So allow me this chance to just skip this entire section and say that all you're doing is opening gates by pulling their corresponding levers, which are marked by characters of the Russian alphabet. So you get these cute interactions as Anastasia tries to teach what each one means to Yuri. Finally, inside the palace, you get to see the Tsar give a speech of how great and totally fine everything is going for Russia, and after he is in the middle of being depressed about it, the worst attempt at a murder takes place, which Yuri also solves by punching the problem away. Anastasia then plays it up by giving a photo book of her adventures to her father, which contains the very first photo she took of Rasputin conspiring with the man that just tried to kill him.
Fuck this shit, I'm out.
Rasputin, the great magician, then resorts to his most powerful spell and pulls out a knife, taking the Empress as a temporary hostage until Veronica flashes everyone in the room. Ah shit, I thought it was something else. With barely any time to have that sweet family reunion, shit begins popping off as something is making the palace shake. Going outside, it's revealed that a blimp is bombing the entire city, so you follow Rasputin to the roof of the palace by fighting what seems to be an entire colony of birds, only so that Veronica gets in the way while he runs away like a little bitch. She pops off with her demon form, so you know you're beating her ass for the last time. So you do just that and give her a proper send-off. Seemingly cornered, Rasputin flies away with the blimp, which Yuri initially lets him go just so he can transform into Amon and chase after him. As expected of our boy, he just punches a nuke into Rasputin and the entire blimp falls into the river, which leaves Rasputin with no other choice than to call upon the power of Asmodeus, which includes pulling a flying fortress out of his ass. As par for the course on how these things go, the gang takes a minute to regroup as the final battle against Rasputin approaches. Before you can proceed, you are presented with a moment where Nikolai tries to confront a possessed Rasputin, and how disgusted he is by him for casting out his humanity for a power that he can no longer control, as all he wants now is to destroy everything. At the same time, he feels sad to see how the man that helped him when he lost his mother at a young age no longer cares about their shared goal of conquering Russia. It is finally revealed that Nikolai is a bastard son of the Tsar, and he had planned to have Rasputin become the Tsar so that he could kill him and take his place as a legitimate heir to the throne. As a last middle finger to him, he guarantees that he can't win against Yuri, and that he's going to be the one to defeat him, showing just how powerful he is now that he made a pact with the demon Astaroth. Back in control, the giant flying fortress appears to be called Either Flame, but before you go there is actually something very important that I managed to miss in my first playthrough. If you go back to Edgar in Petrograd, Anastasia will be relieved that he is okay, and he will invite everyone to spend the night in his house. There you get a unique cutscene where Nikolai, with the power of Astaroth, manages to enter Karin's dreams where he proposes to her, offering anything that she could want, and when that doesn't seem to work, he tells her that Yuri will never love her back and how much he loves her, to the point when she rejects him, his response is to try to strangle her, only to wake up before anything happens. Now, without further ado, you can finally get into Either Flame, which is mighty similar to Niametu, the final dungeon of the previous game. Wearing its inspiration on its sleeve, you are trapped in this infinite maze of organic corridors made from some unknown alien material, where giant alien eggs must be cleared to grant passage to some place deeper. Which of course the Magimal brothers still manage to find their way in, and are parked right next to the goal, because that's just what they do. At the end of this path, you'll find what seems like a beating heart, so you beat 2 encounters worth of its keepers and it just dies, I think. Don't know what that contributes to the grand scheme of things, but we did it anyway just in case. Getting to the core of it all, you finally confront the possessed Rasputin, who starts by calling right away for the power of the mistletoe, but Yuri can now power through it with the new reclaimed power of Amon. With his last breath, he reveals that the holy mistletoe was intended to defeat Albert, and that the real problem of the curse that it afflicts is not how it steals someone's life, but how it kills the soul by robbing a person's memories. Also, remember how a pointed tower was filled with really angry ghosts? That was actually a really important plot point, because Nikolai is about to release all that malice contained inside it, and he is expecting the Godslayer to come rushing in to stop him. Before that, Yuri takes a pit stop at the graveyard where he talks to John about the current affairs, of how she can't seem to find a cure for the curse, and how he isn't going to give up either. Arriving at the place, and now the angry ghosts have been upgraded to be about all the anger and hatred in the world. Every time that you decide to get buttered about something in the future, just remember that you are contributing to keep the lights on at the Vatican. I guess Nikolai can open the gate up top, and that will be bad, because all the malice has to go somewhere, and it will probably go back to the hearts of men. This is just an excuse to reuse an area really, but instead of being teleported directly to the top, you have a few extra steps to take, like an additional logic puzzle and some elevator management, nothing of special note really. After a bit of cardio, the gang reaches the top of the tower where the holy mistletoe was guarded, revealing that the mural behind it was equally important. And Nikolai takes the opportunity to once again confirm that he's doing all of this specifically because he's butthurt that Yuri defeated Cardinal Albert before him, how he took the curse of the mistletoe like a champ and still managed to defeat Rasputin. While he looks pretty cool, you still have to kick his ass, so that's exactly what happens. When it seems that everything is over and Nikolai is on the ground where he belongs,
In the name of the Emperor, I'm taking this man under my protection.
Oh, you motherfucker. So this is how it's going to be then. Had to be the Japanese man to come out of nowhere and honor a deal, no matter how stupid it is. And with that, disc 1 is over. Yes, disc 1. This thing had to be put into 2 separate discs, even on the PlayStation 2. Oh yeah, we aren't even halfway done with this. So buckle up, cause now it's time to go to the glorious land of the Nippon. It has been 3 months since the events at the Pointed Tower, and the war still rages on. But the gangs still follow after Kato all the way back to Japan. Why it took them so long to get there is because this bitch of a princess tried to drive the airship and crashed it deep into the woods of Hokkaido. So now they're stuck in Japan until Bacon Man fixes it back. In the meantime, Yuri is recovering from seasickness, so you get a little section where you control Blanca again. While exploring their surroundings, Blanca catches sight of a samurai boy, and oh shit, now you're controlling him. Despite doing pretty well defending himself, you can help him out with Blanca, as more bandits will start appearing. When you're able to move around, you'll eventually stumble upon someone being assaulted, who you are supposed to be saving. These appear to be acquaintances of the samurai boy, whose name is Kurando. Finally able to catch their breath, they question the presence of the good boy that helped them, and without even questioning further, they rename Blanca to Snowball. Very little is disclosed about these people, with a man seemingly in the region to visit a graveyard and the samurai being his bodyguard. After thanking Blanca for his cooperation, they part ways, but not without forgetting something behind, which Blanca takes with him. After all of this action, we are back to Yuri, who was fully recovered. At the time, they explain how they are really close to arriving at Yokohama, and when they get there, they find Blanca, ironically at the same time, as his new friends. But unfortunately, the bandits appear out of nowhere and kidnap the little girl, which instead of saving her, has Kurando choosing to take a quick nap. This leads the gang to meet up with the mysterious gentleman, which assures them that despite the boy having been completely riddled with bullets, he will just sleep it off and it will all be okay. Like, look at that, he's already up and about. What a champ. He is so cool that Anastasia catches the severe case of the yellow fever, which is another reason to get involved in this whole kidnapping business, because Blanca chased after them and now he has gone missing too. No, wait, never mind, he's back. And he brought the girl's hair comb, so I guess that's a clue. This leads them to the battleship Mikasa, which is docked downtown, so you head there immediately and discover that it's pretty easy to waltz right into a military ship. You also get to watch 2 men discussing Navy bureaucracy and reveal how they have a kidnapped child on board and that they are aware of intruders on the ship, so they'll have to take the necessary precautions. And I guess that involves forcing you to the worst part of the game. To begin, you must first split your party into 2, and then you must navigate this clusterfuck of a boat by taking keys and inserting keys, and switching parties and opening doors to insert keys somewhere else so that the other party can go through. What is worse is that you must figure all of this while constantly getting bombarded by random encounters. And for fuck's sake, I don't know where I'm supposed to go anymore. This is only more infuriating because they give you a map that explains the layout you must go through, and even then this entire thing can go fuck itself. Anyway, after all of that, the parties meet back up again, they open a big important door, and you find out the man behind the kidnapping, so you kick his metal ass. That fucking head turn. The girl is rescued, Blanca is introduced correctly, and she introduces herself back to the party as Yoshiko Kawashima, which completely caught Yuri off guard, but the moment is interrupted by an ambush by the ship's crew.
You called me, Minister?
Ooh, that hurts the throat just listening to it. Here we have the foreign minister Ishimura planning some shady business related to the Kawashimas, and this involves the apes of Kato, especially the last one, which turned out to be quite an expensive endeavor. Yet Ishimura advises Karo to not get too connected to them, as they are just apes. Turns out they are not apes at all, but synthetic humans created to be living weapons, and we already met the other two when Karo took Nikolai away. I can certainly see why this one took the longest. Damn Karo, did you really have to give it the biggest titties? In this section, you get to control the latest of the mutant apes, who has been given the name Oka, as she goes through some special training where you go through a corridor and press the correct buttons to shoot the targets. You also fight the other two members of the apes as a trial of sorts, just so you can fight all together in the end to test their teamwork abilities. With that out of the way, it's back to Yuri and friends, who have been locked for 3 days until Mr. Kawashima helped bailing them out with the help of some documents from Anastasia, which declares her as a Russian ambassador.
Shall we go, Yuri? Anne? And you are...
Anne? That's your new name, Karen. I didn't want them to know that you're German.
Anne?
That was my mom's name.
Well, isn't that weird? At least it explains the massive mummy milkers. Back in Yokohama, and Mr. Kawashima explains to the group that he's risking his ass to visit a grave in the foreigners' cemetery nearby, and asks if they would like to accompany them, to which they agree for some reason. Not even one step inside, and Karen feels like something is off, and she couldn't be more wrong because oh shit, look at this fucking transition! I can just feel how smug the motherfucker who came up with this idea must have felt back then, cause goddamn, I would have felt the same. So now the gang slips into a reality marble, where they find Kurondo unconscious in their path, only to quickly wake up and show how he actually possesses fusion powers like Yuri, so a quick fight ensues. After regaining his conscience, you unlock his powers, but he can only fuse with the soul of the Tsukiyomi, at least for now. Trapped in this weird dimension, you must figure out where the exit is through the correct order, which will eventually lead them into some sort of temple where Garan is waiting for them, claiming to be some sort of guardian of Japan. Of course, he gets his ass handed to him, and this allows everyone to get back safely to the cemetery. Mr. Kawashima then reveals to be the father of Yoshiko Kawashima, as the little girl is just someone he adopted, and Yuri gets once again attacked by screenshots of the previous game, tormenting him with past events in low quality. Mr. Kawashima mourns the fact that she died in a foreign land over petty politics, and that he should have been there to protect her, leading Yuri to share some of his fond memories of her with her family. Let's just forget that one thing that she said back then that was kinda fucked up. Don't wanna ruin the tender family moment, do we? Following that, we cut back to Nikolai getting his balls electrocuted, having a great time. Looks like the Japanese army is running experiments to know how to extract the demonic power from Nikolai, which hey, that's kinda weird, Japan wouldn't do something like that. Oh, what is this? Must not be important. Anyway, this time they're trying to use the dog as a vassal, but that doesn't go well for him. I think that is still pretty bad for the dog, so the mutant apes try to fight it, but after some psychic power display by Oka, the demon dog warps out of the research facility. Then Kato just bitch slaps Oka, because I guess she was disobeying orders, but then he tells them to go after it right away. Back to Mr. Kawashima, we see him meet up a Yuri with a new haircut and a cool coat, which turns out to be Yuri's father, Jinpachiro Yuga. This is a flashback of the moment where Shinpachiro was about to leave Japan with his wife and son to live in mainland China, sharing the concern that he won't be able to return to Japan ever again, so he came to meet his old friend one last time before parting ways. On more present matters, we see that everyone got separated and are chilling on their own after Yuri found out that Mr. Kawashima knew his father, with Joachim deciding on going to explore the nearby town of Nihonbashi, so Anastasia decides to accompany him too. As it has been a hot minute since his last appearance, the Great Gamma appears once again, having set up his wrestling ring in a park of the city, almost like he was waiting for Joachim to appear so he could teach him a new skill. Going over to the opposite side of the town, and you find Yuri and Karen having a moment. So Joachim and Anastasia jump into hiding into some bushes nearby. Karen is trying really hard to comfort Yuri as he expresses concerns over his father's actions in the past. But like,
Your father died while fighting this wizard who was planning to destroy all of Japan, is that right?
well, when you put it like that, it sounds really stupid, okay? She then shares some of her concerns as well as a way to connect with him, of how she was part of a family in nobility which happened to fall into hard times, causing her to work harder for the honor of the family name, and that's why she joined the military in the first place. But all of that was for naught, as she ended up losing everything along with her hometown.
What are they doing? Just grab her and plant one on her already. Push her head down like this. Jeez, don't be such a wuss. Go and make your move. You can do it. Go. Kiss her. Kiss her. Grab. Huh?
Damn bitch, calm down.
Yuri, may I ask you just one more thing?
Yeah, I guess so. You might as well.
Were you in love with Alice?
Oh! I'm okay.
She really is going hard for it, huh? I bet that if she said something like, wanna try to fuse with something that isn't a demon, it would probably fall for it. It would probably be a lot easier too. Oh, what a lovable, silly pair. Anyway, here's the demon dog, who really just wanted to go to the park. Even so, you kick his ass to the next dimension, which happens to be just a few meters away. Seeing how things are quickly getting out of control, Akaro appears to offer a truce between them until this problem gets fixed, which now includes even more demon dogs than before. Using the mutant apes, you clear a path to the main dog by fighting 3 separate waves of little dogs, and let Yuri give his usual beatdown. Huh, another problem solved with violence. After things calm down, Akaro advises Yuri once again to leave Japan, but showing how determined he is to stop all of this nonsense, Karo just directly tells him that he must go to the Ojo research laboratory. Before you get to that, the group updates Mr. Kawashima of the situation, who also shares that the foreign minister Ishimura is the one controlling all of this bullshit, and now he plans to use Nikolai against Russia.
Against Russia?
Yeah, that's what I just said. Yuri doesn't believe that Karo is willingly working for that man because he has a good heart, and Mr. Kawashima agrees, as he was the one who managed to bring back Yoshiko's dead body back to Japan. That reminds me, where is that book that can raise the dead anyway? Wait a minute. Mr. Kawashima then faints with a new revelation, and the group decides it's best they hurry up onto the labs to confirm their suspicions. By robbing some guards and stealing their uniforms, they are easily able to get in, and while they're going around looking for something, somewhere else Karo is seen having doubts about the path he took to get where he is now. He comments on how his life has drastically changed since falling in love with Yoshiko, who yearned for a life of freedom and truth to herself, while Karo fears the path he took when where he learned to lie, cheat and kill. This as Oka expressed her true feelings, fully knowing that she was made to be in Yoshiko's image, and despite being jealous of her real counterpart, she doesn't mind becoming her substitute. Once again, we are interrupted of a sentimental moment so that you can see Nikolai getting his balls tased, as they are beginning the operation to separate the demon from him. Karo tries to stop the Mad Doctor from going too far with the CBT session, but alas, it is too late, as with Nikolai's ego destroyed, Astaroth has taken over his body. Obviously, Yuri doesn't waste time and starts immediately talking shit, but Astaroth doesn't care and warps out. Unfortunately for us, we have to get out by foot, and now the place is on full alert, so random encounters are once again inbound. When it seems that you are free of this place, the mad scientist appears on this goofy-ass robot, thinking he's Eggman or something. Nevertheless, you straight up kill him. Ishimura isn't too happy about losing the research lab, so he sends Garan to take care of Yuri, even if he is the son of an old friend. Mr. Kawashima, on the other hand, has asked Kurondo to accompany Yuri, who at the moment is anxious about Astaroth being in control of Nikolai's body. as he is starting to recall what happened to him in Shanghai. As Mr. Kawashima sees him having doubts about being able to win against such a powerful foe, he recommends him to go to Katsuragi, as there is someone there waiting to meet him. With a clear goal in mind, you round up everyone, and in the process you stumble upon the one and only Bacon Man, who is really mad at everyone for leaving him behind on that forest with the bears and all. But then everyone laughs at him and all is fine. Anyway, you can now travel all around the world. It's that easy, huh? But we will have to leave that for later, as now we have new people to meet. Recognizing the place as the same one where they met Albert together, Yuri explains that this place is the earliest memory he has as a child, and while they are reminiscing over their memories, everyone gets sucked into the ground. Did you enjoy that old spirit world where you fought Garan at the end? It's time for a remix! You have to make it through the entire thing without passing through the same gate twice. There you go, that's the gimmick. Moving on to the boss. Garan tries to intimidate them, but they are too impressed by his pillow.
It must be the pillow he's sitting on. I'm sure of it.
You think so?
This is the last chance to plead for your lives. Anything you wish to say before you meet your deaths? Well?
That pillow. Where can I get one?
He gets so butthurt that he goes full demon mode. Dude, whatever, you got places to be.
Anyway, he never did tell us where he bought that pillow, did he?
Finally arriving at Inugami village, Kurondo reveals that this is his hometown, and that is enough for Anastasia to go on overdrive on how much she wants his dick.
I could be like your wife. I'm so sad.
Okay, let's go already.
I'm so embarrassed. I can't believe I just said that. Really, but it makes me so happy. Huh?
Bitch, don't kick the dog for a joke delivery. It's not like we are in a hurry. But we kinda are, so they are led to the Fountain of Sukune, where Saki, the leader of the village, is located. She then explains how the waters of the fountain can warn her of things, and that they are doing that really hard right now, as something big is about to happen.
Are you Yuri?
Yeah.
I see.
Oh.
What the fuck was that moment? Anyway, she does her little dance, some cool shit happens, and Yuri looks inside Mount Fuji to find Karo and the mutant tapes near a pool of lava that contains a naked Nikolai. What she didn't expect was for Astaroth taking control of her, and so another boss battle ensues. Damn, those are some nice titties. Yep, bitch is dead. While all of this was happening, the mutant apes were having a conversation about their master Karo, which they are eternally grateful towards for having saving them when no one else could. But they know that OK is different, and that Kato wants to, as one of them so kindly puts it.
He wants to have a baby with her.
So they swear that they will protect those two with their own lives. Which is a real big red flag when you consider that they are about to go try to fight Nikolai. Jumping back to the gang, Saki has recovered from getting her ass beaten, so they meet up with her once again, and she seems like she's doing fine as she is already cracking jokes, taking on the opportunity to mention how Yuri looks so much like his father.
Is there something on my face?
Yes, your nose and your eyes.
That's a pretty silly joke, hmm?
Yes, she's always saying stuff like that.
Now don't get so angry. You look so much like your father, that's all I'm saying.
My father?
Yes.
Did you know him?
Yes.
You really knew him?
Yes.
But how?
I am his sister.
Sister?
Huh?
Man, I'm sorry about the titty comment. As they don't have much time before Nikolai does something bad, Saki decides to go for the long exposition. They explain that Yuri and his father's fusion powers come from a long lineage of guardians in Japan. Being from the same family, that's why Kurondo also has the same powers. It appears that Nikolai is planning to use the massive power of the Earth's ley lines to erupt Mount Fuji with such strength that will completely destroy the country, for some reason. With all of that clarified, they rush into the so-called Immortal Mountain, where it's time to lose your fucking mind with dungeon puzzles, put crystals into shrines, and teleport around. How are you supposed to know what is the right path? Well, they all are if you intend to complete the game 100%. So good luck stumbling through this damn cave, shuffling crystals around. If you manage to survive the tedium, you get to the place where the mutant apes were talking. And after a few more screens, you finally find what you came looking for. Karo managed to seal Nikolai inside a crystal, but he took a pretty bad beating along with the apes. But of course, this wasn't enough to contain Astaroth completely, so he starts going on about this being the end of humanity or whatever, with just Yuri doing what he does best.
Before you do, can I ask a favor?
What do you wish, human?
I wish you'd shove it. You know where.
Haha! Get fucked! Oh, he's mad. Real mad. I guess pushing Karen is like doing your taxes now. Everyone must do it eventually. Once again, Yuri gets fucked by trying to save Karen, but luckily our man comes to the rescue.
You'll die for it.
Fuck yeah! Oh no, look out! The priest has a sharp polygon.
You'll die instead.
You son of a...
Karen!
Oh, that's fucked up at several different levels.
Master.
Oh. Oh, God.
Are you hurt?
I'm fine.
I'm so glad.
Oh, God.
Unfortunately, it's only getting worse from here. Yuri is sent back to the graveyard, where he hears Alice's voice behind the locked door, which he is incapable of opening. This finally wakes him up after 3 days of being unconscious, when Karen informs him how Karo will be waiting for him at the foreigner's cemetery. Despite Astaroth being killed, Saki warns them that the world is still far from knowing peace, as even a greater crisis seems to be rapidly approaching, and Yuri knows exactly what it is. An absolutely devastated Karo is found near the grave of Yoshiko Kawashima, where right next to her he buried Oka too, mourning how he now walks an empty path, one with no more love and no more dreams. With no more roundabouts, he tells the location of the foreign minister Ishimura, but Yuri seems more worried about what Karo is going to do, as he returns the emigre manuscript to him, together with a simple question.
Don't you want to see Alice again? If you follow the instructions in that book, then you can be with her again.
Wait a minute. I don't know how to use magic.
Roger should be able to help you. He can bring her back to life. Exactly the way I did.
Yeah, but isn't that...
Yuri. From now on, I'm your enemy.
Huh?
This is the last time we'll ever speak as friends.
What do you mean?
The world as you know it will end. By my hand. If you really think that you can stop me, my old friend, bring everything you have. Unlike Nikolai and Rasputin, I won't depend upon the power of some evil god. I'll do it with my own hands.
Come on, enough with the joking.
This is no joke. If you want to know what my plans are, look inside that book. There isn't much time left.
Kato!
Farewell, my friend.
Jesus fucking Christ. Yuri just struts right into the place of the foreign minister against fully armed forces, forcing you to fight several waves of soldiers until you fight Lieutenant Colonel Terada once again, the same guy who kidnapped Mr. Kawashima's daughter. This was supposed to be another easy fight, but lo and behold, the only thing that gave me problems in the entire game, the boss with complete physical immunity. Because I didn't want to load a save and change my party, I just dragged my fucking feet and beat the fucker inch by inch. Cause goddamn, if sometimes I don't do things just out of spite. I mean, look at the size of this fucking video. Moving right along, Yuri finally confronts Ishimura, ready to lay it down to him, but the man explains that, of course, he did all of this for his country. That if he didn't, then the West would take over Japan and the rest of Asia. As he continues to wax on politics, it's the fact that he thinks that random people dying as a result from all of this is a necessary evil that finally tips Yuri over the edge. To make matters worse, Ishimura's grandson appears and tries to stand up to Yuri. But do you really think he gives a fuck?
Don't you dare touch my grandpa, you hear?
Out of the way!
Yeah, you push that kid!
Please. My grandson is innocent. Don't kill him. Don't kill him. I'm begging you. Please. Please.
Don't you dare beg for his life! What about the people you sent to kill in your name? What about the children whose lives have been snuffed out by your soldiers? How many parents have begged just like you for their children's lives? They cried and begged and pleaded for their lives. And they were killed anyway. They tried to protect their homes, and they were killed anyway. How many people will you sacrifice for your stupid, petty ambitions? Protecting them from the West, huh? Well, protect this! Doing it for your country, huh? Well, here's what I think of that! I say you did it for yourself! Stupid, arrogant idiot! You should rot in hell! Rot in hell! Rot in hell!
After all of that, Yuri gets pretty depressed, confused with his actions and how everything is turning out to be, so Bacon steps in to talk to him. Realizing that in comparison to Ishimura, who was fighting to protect his country, isn't sure of what he is fighting for. So Bacon has to remind him that even if he doesn't realize, he is fighting for Alice and for the world she loved, and that includes him too, so that in the end he can live without regrets.
Yuri?
Yeah?
I'm going to bring Alice back to you.
What? Oh, okay, time to commit sins against nature. Meanwhile, Saki wanted to talk to Karen, so she does just that. After soothing her worries of unreciprocated love, she mentions of how both of them carry a heavy burden of an important fate that they must fulfill. She also gives her a photo of just before Yuri and his parents went overseas, as she might have enjoyed seeing how he looked like when he was younger. With both their resolve strengthened, they head back to Europe, but not without making a quick stop in Zurich, the hometown of Alice. Karen questions why he brought her here, and Yuri gives her his mother's pendant.
I want you to have it.
Really?
All of the people that I've ever loved have carried it. My mother and father, and Alice. I guess that everyone that's carried it has died.
This fucking guy. While he feels bad asking her to carry such a heavy burden, he asks that she holds that pendant for him, so that in case he loses his memories of everyone he ever loved, there is at least someone will remember, which she ultimately accepts. And hey, it's one of her best accessories, so it's not going to leave her anytime soon. Okay, back to the main plot. Before being able to revive Alice, they must make another pit stop at the Queen's Garden. There, a Bacon man explains that 15 years ago, when Queen Victoria died, there were plans to revive her using emigre magic, but the Vatican swiped the manuscript in time. It's also revealed that the reason they managed to meet Cado in Southampton was because he needed to come here too for the tools for the ritual. What they need from this place is a relic called the Moon Crystal. And hey, what would you know, this is a pretty good dungeon, albeit with some long corridors again. After going around solving its puzzles, you arrive at the chapel section where the relic is located. But of course, you can just take it without fighting a cool yet creepy boss, so you do just that and you're done. Although, before you are able to leave, John calls you up, so Yuri passes out and wakes up on the graveyard, only so that she can show you a door and her getting locked inside of it, leaving Yuri lost and confused. Okay, now you can really go back to Bacon's observatory where they'll perform the ritual. With everything ready to go, the party begins to have doubts about all of this, because if anything goes wrong, any of them can lose their minds. While the process begins, Bacon explains that what Kato did was actually cloning Yoshiko by using a hair sample, only using the emigre magic to speed up time and make her grow faster. This is also why she didn't have any of Yoshiko's memories, because they were both different people. What Bacon is trying to do is bringing the same Alice back right before she died, which is somehow pretty easy. The real problem is calling her soul back to the body, which no one ever did successfully. Even so, fully aware of the probability of success, Yuri agrees to continue.
Orenus, Orenus, by the wheels of the cherubim, take this soul beyond the gates of time. The crystal! Oh my, her soul isn't returning.
Alice.
I love you.
I love you too.
Amazing.
After yet another bittersweet goodbye, Bacon at least realizes what Kato is intending on doing. He is going to create a warp in time and space, destroying the world as it is by changing the flow of time and rewinding it all. For this, he will need to perform this ritual somewhere with a ley line with a strong magnetic field. Jumping back to Inugami village to ask for advice, Yuri stumbles into the graveyard once more to reflect upon himself. He also meets up with John, who had been looking through his memories to find what truly makes him happy, only to discover that he never realized what that is, his own purpose for life. He then begins to lose himself amidst his own thoughts, his fear of disappearing and no one remembering him, completely lost to the void, like he never existed. And it's in his darkest time where he's finally brought to somewhere really special.
This train. Alice.
You're back. I guess that I fell asleep here waiting for you to arrive.
You did? Oh.
Did you have a hard time?
Oh. You know, same as always.
What?
Can I sit next to you?
Sure, go ahead.
You know, always, feel kinda sick, sitting backwards.
Was it hard for you?
Huh?
To find your way here?
Oh, not at all.
Really?
Well, a little, I guess.
I'm proud of you.
Oh, come on.
I'll never forget.
What?
Taking this journey with you, and meeting you, being with you.
Alice.
Don't worry. Whatever the curse is, I don't mind.
I'm sorry.
Don't be.
I wonder if God'll punish me.
Why?
Roger and I used the emigre manuscript to bring you back to life. But we couldn't do it.
Hmm?
So you really meant what you said then?
Mm-hmm.
I love you too.
I know that.
If there really is a God, and if he'd grant me just one wish, I'd go back to the day we met.
Then we could take a trip together again.
That was some trip, all right.
Now we can see each other anytime.
Anytime?
I'm not going anywhere. Are you leaving?
Yeah, I've got one more thing that I have to do. Once I take care of that, everything will be out of the way, and I'll come back to you. Then I'll never leave again. I swear it.
Be careful.
See you soon.
In the original version of the game, this cutscene happens in engine, and it's purely a matter of personal choice, but I believe that the pre-rendered cutscene of the director's cut gives it so much more impact with the way the scene is colored, with a warm, comforting light when Yuri needed it the most. He then wakes up in Inugami village, and you can continue onward with the plot, asking Saki where Kato might be, which he quickly points out that he is at the stone platform in Asuka, a mythical place that is in reality an altar to the god of destruction. With the final destination discovered, you take the day to rest, and in the following morning, when the party is ready to leave, Karen is nowhere to be found. You come to find her at the Fountain of Sukune, where they share a last moment alone. Yuri tells her that he has finally accepted the curse, whatever the outcome might turn out to be, but that he will fight to the end and will settle everything with Karo before that. Inspired by his courage, Karen decides to also come true to him.
I've loved you ever since I met you. I still do. I always will. I know I can't match up to Alice. You're such a dummy. I know you never noticed.
Karen,
No, it's fine. You don't have to say anything. I always knew in my heart that you felt the same way about me too. That's why I risked my life, because I loved you. And now that you know that, it's enough for me.
I guess that's how it is then. Time to face the music. By this point I might be doing this too much, but I'm going to need your absolute attention for this one cutscene, because... fuck, just watch it.
Matta?
アリスには会えましたか？
おかげさまで。まだ世界を滅ぼすって気は変わらないの？
はい。私は時空を歪め、100年を遡って世界をやり直すつもりです。
100年？
そう、100年。今の世を形作った人々が まだ生まれ入れぬ時代。そこで現在を違った未来へと導くために。
頑固者。
なぜそれほどまでして傷ついていく多くの人々と共に不幸のこれからを生きることを望むのですか？
違うよ。この手で不幸を変えていく、その未来を望むんだ。たとえ魂を燃やし尽くしてもね。
戦うのは真のですか？
いや、定めだからさ。
古の神の御霊、荒々しき日の元の御霊、その時の帰る彼方へ。あの銅鐸が大和の頼原、私はその頂に108の鐘が鳴った時、空が裂け、時が歪む。
分かった。
Absolute fucking Kino. Just two men who accepted fate, fully knowing that they are at the end of their journey, standing at the edge of the end of the world. It's no longer about any perceptible goal, winning or losing. No, it's doing it because it's what they believed in. And by this point, it's more than enough. All of this while the rawest Silent Hill-esque music is blasting in the background. Don't get me wrong, the English voice acting is fine, but I find that the delivery in Japanese just has so much more nuance when it comes to the more serious moments, that I couldn't help but to show it instead in certain parts. With the entrance to the final dungeon rebuild, the party boards the sacred vessel, but before they arrive, John calls upon Yuri once more, asking if he was able to meet Alice and if he is going to be able to find the answer soon, which he assures that he will have it the next time they meet. Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't realize that I put Xenosaga on. I guess ancient Japanese alien technology just looks all like this. Of course, we are now in the final dungeon, so you know what that means. It's time to take a really long break. If you just want to know how the story ends, do skip forward to the next section. But if you feel like you can still keep going, please continue on watching, as in true Shadow Arts fashion, this is about to get a lot crazier. To start, if you go back to the beach in Cannes, you can find two kids talking about how they found some huge dude with spikes on his shoulders that got stranded there recently. Lenny, I can totally see you down there. Lenny, you're blinking. The kids end up spouting how you went up north, and with the farthest north you can go being Petrograd, you meander around its streets until you find out that Lenny helped an old lady there. At the same time, you found out that Rasputin got blown the fuck out while he was gone, making him the only one who survived all of this. After discovering how he was going to visit an acquaintance in France, you try to pay him a visit yourself, only to stumble into someone familiar. That has to be one of the funniest ways to use an animation. This dude who is trying to reform himself also says that Lenny is a pretty cool dude, and even helped him get out of that life, as he only got involved with the secret society because he was trying to get some money to help his mother back home. You then go back to Cannes, where one calculating Caesar knows where Lenny is, but first you must answer some basic arithmetic quiz. Sure. Of course, he reveals that in the past he tried to rob Lenny, and when he caught up to him, he gave a spiel of how he was just trying to survive, that he was poor and didn't even know how to read, which caused Lenny to teach him some basic arithmetic to help him get a job somewhere. All of this just to find out that he has been staying at St. Margaret Island, in the exact place Yuri beat his ass. You would have expected for them to fight, but Lenny is feeling pretty down, now that he has lost everything, something which Yuri can sympathize with. He then tells Lenny how everyone he helped is thankful for him, which seems to cheer him up a bit, and in return he gives you his old biker jacket, which is Yuri's best armor. Wait, that's just his own jacket. What does this even mean? Was he supposed to not be wearing his jacket until now? Was he supposed to be going around with no shirt and only his leather pants? Is this why Karen is so horny? While we're here in St. Margaret Island, there is a side quest that you can start even on the first disc, and one which I recommend everyone to do it as soon as possible. When you return here after saving the Bacon Man, the locksmith that helped you will now be free, and will comment on how he can hear moaning coming from the storeroom floor. You check it out and, yeah, shit is pretty haunted, which Yuri isn't too thrilled about. There the party finds the professor, who explains that this is the Fort of Regrets, which you'll never guess what you must do here, so I'll just say it. You must solve everyone's regrets. You must do this because Karen can hear her grandmother close by, so she wants to meet her again. Time to solve some regrets then. The first one is the weirdest callback to the previous game, where once again you have to give some paper to a guy who died without wiping first. To get usable paper, you must lose at any lottery at least once, so you gotta leave the place if you don't have any with you. The next one is a man who died at sea and never got to confess to the woman he loved, so you gotta find this old lady and give her the ring, who doesn't even remember him, the poor fella. The second floor is the reason you should come here in the first place, as one of the ghosts is somehow a lottery member, and the first prize he can offer is the fantastic Mind's Eye. Be careful though, you can only repeat his lottery 3 times and then he disappears without any regrets, so you better grab that damn thing. You can grab another Mind's Eye somewhere else, but this is the first one you can get, so that means that this time you can get more than one. In case you don't know what is the Mind's Eye, let me put it this way. Remember all those ridiculous buffs you can stack to Yuri for massive damage? Well, this is an accessory which doubles your total attack in exchange for not being able to see where the hit areas are. That might seem like a problem, but if you put this on Yuri and then switch his Judgment Ring to a Gambler Ring, you only need to hit one area which will always be in the same place, so you can use the design of the Judgment Ring itself to know where to stop the pointer. And there you go, and now every boss dies at the slightest touch from Yuri. Another ghost is a little girl that died near a scary Japanese mask, so you must pass on the curse by giving it to someone else. Luckily there is a weeaboo near the antique shop in Paris, so you can just give it to him. On the opposite side of the room, there is a sailor who doesn't remember his name, but who has a watch that is all scratched up, so you need to find a way to know who he is. If you then go back to the foreigner's cemetery, you'll find a man who recognizes the watch and coincidentally is standing next to his grave. With all of that done, the last ghost you must help is the professor himself, and if you are hating this old back and forth as much as me, I'll have you know that this is about to get much worse. After you talk to him here, you go to the beach where the kids found Lenny, and there will be another old man there who says that there is an ancient weapon somewhere nearby. He mentions a friend who left him, So you go back to the professor, and while he has new dialogue, he still doesn't remember very well what he must do to pass away. Unfortunately, you can only continue from this point onward after obtaining a certain item somewhere else completely different. But as we are at the ending of the game, we can just go there directly right now. If you return to Wales and visit Roger's observatory, he will tell you that something bad is going down at the Neum ruins, probably caused by having the emigre manuscript removed from its safe place. For some reason, Anastasia accepts the responsibility and decides to go down there to solve it, dragging poor Kurando with her. I can't believe this bitch is doing an Ojo-sama laugh. What all of this means is that you have to go down there with a pair in the party, but by this point, that's fine. I really just need Yuri to clean house. I gotta be honest with you, after being done with this place, I absolutely hate it. Not only you are forced to go through the same initial floors yet again, but the new floors are... I hope you like blocks.
Edge, 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 edge.
You wanna know something funny? For some reason, they decided to add an extra floor to this place in the director's cut, like it wasn't all enough. Jesus Christ, I'll never do this ever again in my life, much less without a guide. Unfortunately, you get the best item in the entire game by shuffling blocks around for half an hour, and part of me wants to say that it was totally worth it. Although I'm only going to tell you what it is in the final boss, but trust me, the spectacle is worth it. Also, you better grab the special item that Bacon Man dropped in here, if you don't want to be forced to come down here yet again. Anyway, after all of that bullshit, you get to the center of the ruins. Bitch, don't you fucking dare, it was you who wanted to come down here. As an obvious, clear sign, Anastasia comments on how she absolutely needs to take a photo of this monster, so you just know you'll be getting a skill from this one. I wonder what that will be. Excuse me? Despite talking big about destroying the world, Anastasia gives it a stern talking to and turns the demon into her bitch, while everyone ends up offering their sympathies for Kurando's future. Back in Roger's observatory, you can return that special key item that he dropped down there, who in exchange offers you some female underwear. As expected, you can equip Karen and Lucia with this, and their battle outfit actually changes. Before I forget, if you are able to complete the entire monster library and then go talk to Lawrence, he will give you its black counterpart, which function exactly the same as the white ones. While we are here, if you come back to Roger's observatory right away, he will pull the same scheme from the previous game, where he has Yuri power up his teleportation machine by running on a treadmill, forcing you to correctly hit 10 judgment rings in a row, although this one is several degrees easier. Bacon will then go to the moon and come back with a chimera claw he had stashed up there, which turns out to be Yuri's best weapon, like he needed to do even more damage. After all of this walking, it's most likely that you have the necessary steps to go back to the Crazy Walking Society, who will now give you the micro skirt, which is Karen's best armor. But this is just her normal skirt? Really, what the fuck does this mean? Has she been going around without a skirt all this time? I almost forgot the reason we came here in the first place, but you should be able to get another item from your second visit at the Neum ruins, which was a tablet with some hieroglyphs. If you then return it to the professor in the Fort of Regrets, he will tell you how he was investigating some ruins, but he needs the tablet because it contains information on all the mysteries for all the ruins in the world. When you give it to him, it turns out to be impressed it even existed, only to be alarmed when he discovers that the weapon his friend was looking for is set to go off this year. So you rush back there and... oh my fucking god, now it's the developers. Joachim's best weapon is literally the developers. Anyway, you meet the professor's friend, and Joachim tells him he had a talk with the little people inside the weapon, and that everything is safe now. You go back to the professor, share a message from his old friend, and finally discover that his regret was leaving his friend behind. After all of this trouble, Karen is able to finally meet her grandmother. They share a tender moment where Karen feels guilty about her family getting killed, but her grandma comforts her by saying that she is happy everything happened the way it did, because now Karen is truly free from the burden of her family name, and before she passes away, she offers her a final gift, Durandal, which is Karin's best weapon. Seeing how I'm talking about the best girl, might as well do the rest of her stuff. If you manage to find most of the opera chapters, you can go to Southampton again, where the dude who talked about the abandoned mine will give you a new chapter, together with a hint that the Queen had the final chapter hidden in a secret castle. Well, there is only one destination in Europe with the Queen in the name, so you go back there, and behind the altar that contained the moon crystal is the last chapter for the opera. But you are forced to fight something called the Guardian first, which opens up the fight right away by summoning meteors from space. After kicking his ass, Karin learns her last skill, which is a pretty cool phoenix attack, as expected from someone with a fire element. Apparently, the German names of her attacks are all misspelled, but as I don't know an ounce of the language, I'm not even going to try to explain what is wrong with it. She has one extra thing you can get for her, but for that you must momentarily jump into another side quest that has been a long time coming. Okay, remember the dude that gave Yuri some strands of straw? This is a long trading quest that takes you until the Inugami village to complete it, and the problem is that you can miss a great moment if you trade the wrong things. The easiest path to complete it goes a bit like this. Take that straw and trade it for an underground film in Florence, then trade that for a limestone block in Cannes, trade that for a super piroshki in Petrograd, trade that for a talking panda in Paris, trade that for some 10-day-old rice in the Inugami village, and finally, trade that for some research papers in Southampton. The next time you go back to the old antique shop in Paris, you will meet a familiar face. It's Margaret, who, despite being in the middle of a secret mission, is glad to see that Yuri is doing well. Before they can go their own separate ways, she recognizes the research papers he's holding, which turns out to be a report about some unique type of bacteria that is harmful to humans. If you give her the papers, she will trade them for the Nemesis fan, Lucia's best weapon. By this point, we can also go back to Roger's house to discover that Margaret visited the old fool for some tea, but ended up forgetting one of her outfits behind. Of course, he is quick to point out to Yuri if he wouldn't like to see someone with it on. Despite being pretty embarrassed about the whole affair, she does take it with her, so you can still equip it. This functions as an accessory, one which will actually change their battle outfit and... And yes, if you equip the underwear together with the dating outfit, they get combined. Man, I fucking love the PS2. After obtaining Amon, if you go to Florence and talk to this man, he will tell you about a certain castle. One which you'll instantly recognize once you visit it. Yes, it's the House of Mirrors, and yes, it's even worse to navigate this time. And unfortunately, there is a lot of stuff to do here. The main reason you want to complete this extra dungeon is that in the place you got Amon, you can find Albert once more, where he will tell you that this was the place where he made a contract with Amon, which originally was the house of another historic figure. As Albert is aware that Yuri is about to face an even greater enemy, he reveals that a great power resides in this place, but he'll only give it to you if you can beat him. There you go. Now you also have new Amon. Remember that wolf bout thing? It's time to take care of that, as these are found all over the world and most are a pain to find. Some of these will have you fight alien wolves, zombie wolves, wood wolves, fen wolves, and... Wait a minute, is that... Oh my god, it is! It's that dude from Smash Bros!
Are you okay?
Okay, bad joke, I know, but I had to do it. Of course I recognize him, it's Terry Bogard, from Street Fighter 6. I could keep the joke going, but it's better that I explain it for those who don't know. Terry is the main character from Fatal Fury, which the original Japanese title is Garou Densetsu, which can be translated to Legend of the Angry Wolf. In case you still don't get it, his official nickname is the Legendary Wolf. The real problem to this side quest is that while you can start by doing this in any order, the last 4 will only appear if you have beaten the previous 11. And one of those is in the fucking Crystal Cave, so the first time I went there it was totally empty, so I had to go back there again. Anyway, after you beat those first 11, the last one will reveal to be Blanca's father, who seems to be pretty proud of how his son shows the path of the warrior, telling him to go see Ernest before finally passing away. Jumping back to Paris, Ernest is nowhere to be found, but you can still find his pet wolf Tetsu, who has a note for you. Here Ernest tells you that the wolf bout isn't over, as apparently there are spaces left in the back of the stamp card. One of them is back in the Castle of Mirrors, so have fun going in and out of that place again. The other one is in the Forest of the Wind, and is just Blanca's father again, but this time it's his spirit form from his prime days. Now you can return to Paris and... I am beginning to think that Shadow Hearts walked, so Yakuza could run. The last battle in the wolf bout is against Wolfman, so of course you bite his ass. This has Ernest reveal that he ran into Blanca's father in the past, and after winning a fight against him, he wanted to fight stronger wolves. But as there weren't any stronger wolves than him, he made the wolf bout to create the strongest wolf. For all of this stupid shit, you get the Beast Medal, Blanca's ultimate weapon. By this point, you can also visit the church at Domremy, where Yuri will pass out so that John can talk directly to Blanca. After some heart-to-heart, which can be summed up as her asking who is a good boy, she gives him a kiss on the nose and then spins away, leaving you with a charm pouch, Blanca's best armor. If after all of this you are crazy enough to go back to the Castle of Mirrors, you can find that one of the wolves has turned back into a human. If you then return to Paris, you will encounter a child in place of Tetsu, who finally reveals that he wasn't a wolf at all, but a kid who Ernest forced into a furry suit. Like trying to set up some combo of fucked up shit, and now the kid is asking for help, because Ernest turned himself into a bug, and now he's trying to set up an insect bout. Well, good luck with that, buddy, cause I'm out. If you return to the Inugami village, Saki will be glad to see Kurondo, as she has an errand for him. She has been feeling some bad vibes from a certain dog shrine, and she needs him to go check it out. He then explains to the gang how that is the place where they keep the legendary Inugami sword, but that the problem is how the place is a complete maze. Of course, let's go. The concept itself is good, the execution is what kills me. The shrine is composed by all of these chambers, but you need to connect them using extra pieces to create paths. The easier way to explain this is that you're playing Pipe Mania, but instead of routing water, you're creating a path to get to several key points. The problem here is that you need to go to all of the 4 special chambers, and that involves too much back and forth by putting pieces and taking pieces and putting pieces again and... fuck this shit, I'm fast forwarding it. You finally get the best weapon for Kurondo, but you have to beat the Pillow Man one last time to keep it. If you then return to Inugami village and visit the Fountain of Sukune, Saki will reveal that Kurondo's father appeared to her in a dream and told her to open Kurondo's seal. Despite warning him that he might die from this, he accepts the responsibility of his bloodline. So, what is the ultimate form of Kurondo? Oh, I get it. I absolutely hate it, but I get it. Well, after all of this, if you visit Saki at her house once more, she will have a conversation with Anastasia, who will share her worries of Kurondo recently starting to become more manlier. Which opens up a whole sexually charged conversation. This has Saki out herself as the horny MILF, so to restore her image as the beautiful and mysterious widow, she presents Anastasia with an autumn kimono. Something which she intended to give to the woman who would marry Kurondo, so I guess she has just decided that they're engaged now. This is actually Anastasia's special accessory, which changes her outfit during battle, which certainly improves her looks. And while we're at it, if you collect all of these 5 pieces of paper called Silver Angel, and then return to Edgar, you will be really hyped about them, and will trade it all for Anastasia's ultimate weapon, the Gold Angel. At this point, you can also go to the palace, where you can see that Anastasia's brother has caught a bad case of the gay, while her mother takes the opportunity to give her the best armor, as her brother continues to tearing it down on the dance floor. If you visit the tavern at Le Havre, you will find a drunken man who apparently got rich by selling some glowing flowers that he picked up from a forest in southern Germany. and with Lucia so interested, they quickly depart to the place. As soon as you enter the so-called Black Forest, you'll find a white flower that is somehow able to talk. It tries to warn them of what they must do if they want to leave, giving a long explanation with a series of confusing rules that the gang just decides to ignore. The problem is that if you want to solve this place, you better have paid attention to what the flower said. I'm gonna be honest, this involves following a very specific order by talking to the right flowers and following their advice accordingly. And after a few tries, I just looked up the solution. What's really funny is that right by the end, the flowers trick you really bad, when it seems obvious you must follow the orders of the white flower, but that will lead you directly into a game over, as the game explains that the party got forever lost inside the forest. Anyway, if you follow the black flower's advice at the end, you get to fight a plant lady that is pretty hot, which reveals to have been another one of the many demon crests who are controlling the plants. After all of this time, Lucia also finds the flower that Carla has been looking for nearby, so you rush back to Florence to give it to her, and she turns it into some aurora oil for Lucia's aromatherapy. While we're at it, if you visit Carla again, she has a conversation with Lucia, who mentions how she has been gaining weight during her journey because she loves to eat. Carla then gives her a message from Lawrence, who wants to see her before he departs for something important. Going to Southampton, you find him waiting for her there, where he reveals that he has gotten an important mission in Alexandria and doesn't know when he will be able to come back. So he ends up proposing to her by saying how he wished he could live in Man Mariana Island together with her. Although for a moment his stance kinda wavers when she informs him that she recently gained weight, but as long as she didn't get like Carla, it would be fine for him. As a farewell gift, he gives her a bride's dress and wishes that in the future she could dance for him in it. Like the dating outfit for Karen, this is another unique accessory that Lucia can equip to change her outfit in battle. And another one which... oh yeah. Also, if you then return to the Black Forest after all of this, you can find another great accessory for Lucia, just in the middle of the road here, which when equipped will turn all tarot cards into special cards. By going back to Le Havre, you can find that the kids that you helped before have found the new pink bat, and that they say that she has been looking for Joachim. Looks like besides Keith, there is another eccentric member of the family. She then reveals that the reason Joachim even left the house at all is because he broke the family's demon sword. As Joachim isn't planning on returning home anytime soon, she gives him a present, one that makes noise if you shake it, because there are little people working on a deadline right now. But just like the previous game, you have to use it in a battle against her if you want to keep it. That's the building of the game's publisher. That's fucking funny. Also, if you manage to find all 15 lottery members, which should include a fucking ladybug from the Inugami village, then when you come back here you'll actually find out that the current president of the association is Kid, who will let you play one last lottery to try to win the Rose Bondage, which is Joachim's best armor. Okay, listen, it's time for the gayest side quest of them all, and I'm not even joking. After you have gotten all the skills you can learn from the Great Gamma, you can then meet up with him once again in Neonbashi to ask him a favor.
You think you can handle me?
Teacher! We have come here to ask you a favor.
Oh yes, favor asker. I'm open for questions 24/7. If you got the problem, spit it out. Open your heart. Your body will follow. You will forget all your troubles.
Uh-oh. It started.
I have come here to save the world. This may be the very last time that you and I ever meet. Mine is the soul of a true warrior. I've never backed down from a fight.
Oh yeah? Well, mister, I never back down from a fight. What is this favor you're asking of me?
The intensity is just incredible.
Yeah.
I've come here for one reason only. For the Man Festival.
The Man Festival?
You don't mean it. You mean to challenge me in the Man Festival?
Huh?
Huh? What's that? That sounds kind of nasty.
It's the ultimate test for wrestlers. The cruelest of all trials.
The Man Festival. Yes, the Man Festival. Countless wrestlers have tried, but every one of them has paid the ultimate price. The physical body is pushed beyond all endurance, and the spirit is tested to madness. Anyone who survives the test will become heir to me, the Great Gamma. But are you prepared to suffer the consequences of losing as well? I'll show no pity to the loser. Fail, and you will pay the ultimate price with a baptism that will strip away your manly dignity. Even you, Joachim, will be given no quarter.
I'll never lose. Victory will be mine.
Very well said, Joachim. I would expect nothing less from my pupil.
Hey!
Wow, this is going to be great. We are going to be witnesses to history here.
Huh? Oh. Yeah.
Oh, yes! Oh, yeah!
Wow!
Time to begin the Man Festival. The Tower of the Holy Ring is completed. Come on up to the top. I'll be waiting for you here. Yeah?
I'll be coming up to meet you.
Yeah? What am I even supposed to say about all of this? You can now enter the Man Festival, where you must climb a massive tower of wrestling rings by fighting different types of curry. And by that I mean a lot of different types of curry. Hope you have fun, cause I didn't. You have to fight a bunch of them in a row, and they're all pretty easy. It's the process that takes too long. You can leave momentarily when you reach the 10th and 20th floor, but then you still have to reach floor 26, where they realize the joke was dragging for too long, but then they make you fight the last 8 to the top. At this time, each party member must fight against one curryman by themselves and win, so I hope you have everyone in your party ready for that.
Well, that wasn't so bad.
Oh, man. Why me?
Joachim, that was amazing! We're finally at the top!
You've done well to come this far. This is the true battleground.
Teacher!
I am not your teacher. My name is the Great Question, champion of the Man Festival.
Great Question? Fine then. Great Question it is.
Great question?
They've gone nuts, those guys. Totally lost it.
Now then, my little challenger, bring it
Before we start,
on.
can I ask you just one thing?
Why, sure. What is it?
This baptism you were talking about, what exactly is it?
You're thinking about defeat already, aren't you? I knew it.
Excuse me?
Yes, dear.
I want to know too.
Well, very well then. I will tell you. Those who fail in the Man Festival must receive as a punishment the winner's full manhood.
Manhood?
You don't mean... gross.
Exactly. That is correct.
So, great question. If you win... Oh. And if I win?
What kind of choice is that? A battle for manly dignity, huh? I'd say it's pretty sick.
Oh, man. No way. Not this guy.
Well, the time for talk is over. The rest will be decided by sweat.
Oh.
Are you afraid, trembling boy?
Who would you like to be? In the name of justice, this fist. In the name of truth, these muscles. In the name of beauty, this butt. Champion of truth and justice, Grand Papillon, ready to fight all evildoers.
Evildoers? Whoa, to me! Here we...
You won!
Nice job. Nice job.
Oh, what a relief. Oh. Take my title, I beg of you. Uneasy lies the head that wears the crown.
But, teacher...
You have done it. This belongs to you now.
This is...
the Mask of Question. From this day on, you are the true hero. You are the great question.
I'm... the great question?
Well now. You passed the physical. Now it's time for the mental test.
Huh?
The Man Festival must end with the final expression of love between two men.
Isn't it beautiful? Love comes in so many different shapes.
I'm not... into that shape. No.
I can't believe that the wrestling thing turned out to be more gay than the part with the gay erotica. For better or for worse, you win, and Joachim is now the great question, truly begging the question of who thought this was a good idea. I think it's time we give some attention to the old man, as he slowly became irrelevant as the plot moved forward, despite being a really interesting character. If you talk to the man in a purple suit down in the streets of Yokohama, you will mention how Cornelia looks similar to a doll he saw 30 years ago, when a certain French doll maker had moved into a nearby mansion. The man seems to have disappeared shortly after he lost his only daughter, and of course, Giuppero seems highly interested in visiting his place. This is, without a doubt, the best area in the whole game, and it's a shame that you can very easily miss it. The mood is absolutely impeccable, with each screen carefully constructed as to not break the tension expected from a horror game. Just like the previous game, you have to solve the mystery of this dollhouse and figure out what happened to the owner. By checking the ground floor, you can find the diary from the owner, even presented as the olden days of survival horror with the same text format and the static background illustration. The diary tells the story of the doll maker, whose daughter passed away at a young age, so he tried to recreate her as a doll, but every time he tried, the doll would have some sort of flaw. He would later acquire a crest that held the power of a demon, but which he doesn't remember from where it came from. Even so, he tried using it to bring back his daughter's soul, but all he ever managed was to bring all the other failures to life, each with their unique personality. His last record ends with him being able to complete his masterpiece, who he kept in a locked room in the cellar before trying to bring back his daughter. After you finish reading the diary, all the dolls will come to life, and you must figure out the name of each one by using the hints in the diary, with each one regarding with a piece of the code to the locked room. If you get any of their names wrong, you have to fight them, but it's not that hard to get them all right, revealing the code to be the name of the doll maker's daughter. Before entering the room, Geppetto feels anxious about something, but continues on forward. When finally meeting with the so-called masterpiece, Geppetto shares how he was the one who taught this doll maker a long time ago, even praising his final work as something at the same level of Cornelia. The masterpiece then comes alive and claims to be Geppetto's daughter, even reminiscing how he used to make dolls for her so she didn't feel alone while he was traveling for work. As her words begin to distort and she starts convincing him to join her, he realizes how he's being controlled by the demon crest and breaks free, leading everyone to get together and kick his ass. The demon behind all of this actually ends up being pretty chill, and he's totally fine being the one controlled right now, so you get the ball crest in return. It is then revealed that the one who pulled him out of the trance was Cornelia herself by using the very thread of fate that bounds them. You know, the Asian belief that people bound to be together for life are connected by an invisible red string from birth. You can now use that, as it is actually Geppetto's ultimate weapon. Besides the armor, which I'll get to later, there is only one section missing for Geppetto, which are Cornelia's dresses. Besides the 7 basic dresses, there are some extra ones that you can get that gives him extra abilities. You can get one of them by buying the raccoon friend from a seller at the warehouses in Yokohama. This gives her the Beastmaster's dress and the special skill, Ecstasy. For another one, you have to somehow remember to pay a visit to Rasputin's room and check his bedside table. You will then get the purple bondage, which is an outfit that Veronica left behind. Unfortunately, you can't equip it to anyone in your party, but if you give it to Pierre, you'll be inspired to create a new dress for Cornelia, also teaching her the skill Passion. After you acquired all of this, if you talk to Pierre one last time, he will comment on how he has been in a slump lately, and how he can't come up with new dresses right now. But despite being embarrassed by it, Yuri actually shares an idea he has for a dress, which turns out to be... I don't know what's killing me here, but it's either the drawing or the fact that this is so sad. After acquiring this dress, Cornelia can now cast Advent, which is the same ultimate skill that Alice had in the first game, with the animation even being the same. So these are all of them, right? Actually no, there is one more, but unfortunately it's only available on the Director's Cut version. The other requirement is that you must have a completed save file from the first game. If you manage to fulfill all of these requirements, this will give you the Mr. Mayone card, funny enough. Guess we all have to make a living somehow. After you obtain all the other dresses, if you take this card to Pierre, he will comment how he always has seen things superficially and never by their true essence. But after taking a whiff of the extra rare card, he will work on his best piece yet, which turned out to be... nothing. Inspired by the folktale The Emperor's New Clothes, the so-called dress that you get is the Beautiful Fool. This doesn't offer any new skill, and is just Cornelia naked. Although, you can give Geppetto either the white or black underpants, and he'll actually put them on Cornelia, so you have to appreciate the extra mile that they went with this. What's curious is how by accessing the Debug Island in the western version of the original game, you can actually give yourself the Mr. Mayone card and get the fully translated scene to play. Which means that they either plan to include this and all the other content from the Director's Cut for the western release, or they were just working with the most recent build of the game, which already contained this part. But no, it's impossible to get this dress in the western release. After all of this fighting, you should have more than enough to level up all the fusions of both Yuri and Kurondo, so if you did that by now, you can visit the graveyard where right in front of the tree there is a secret item called the Reborn Droplet. With that, if you visit the last room where John talked to you, Yuri will have a flashback of his entire journey, starting from the first game, leading to yet another encounter with his father. who tells how proud he is for all he has done, but now he must try to surpass him.
Come on, just like when you were a child. Try to beat me. Here goes. But this time, there's no holding back.
Well, don't say he didn't warn you. For that, Yuri reawakens to the power sealed inside of his heart, obtaining yet again the power of the Dark Seraphim. With all the juggling of enemies you can do in this game, he finally becomes a real Tekken character now. It's also time to do the most boring aspect of completing all the content in the game, which include doing all of the Solomon trials that are offered by Sarah. These are 18 different trials, which all have different requirements to beat. But the most important thing here is how the last thing you can fight are these little tanukis. I'm just pointing them out because they are so cute. But I guess you can also get a unique skill for Anastasia if you take a photo of them. After you do all of this, you unlock the last one, which is the Creator's Trial. Beating this one will give you the Puppeteer's Cape, which is Geppetto's best armor. If by this point you also manage to acquire all 7 2-demon crests and solve the Solomon's Key, you are now permitted an audience with King Solomon himself, who summons you to the world of the Combined Will. Being his first guests in over 3000 years, he finally reveals why he called them there. He was bored. He was bored and wanted to fight someone strong. So you do just that. I don't even feel bad, I mean, he asked for it. With the old man blown the fuck out, he turns himself into a crest. Solomon's crest. Funniest shit I ever seen. Anyway, he wants to travel with the gang, so you put him in your pocket with the rest of them. If you equip him to someone, you get the Melt Crest spell, which does this. Yeah, that's pretty cool. So that's everything, right? Actually, no, there is one last thing. But for that, we must jump into the director's cut one last time. If you return to that one special place in the Forest of Wind, you'll encounter a mysterious man who will comment on how he saw a red light coming from somewhere near Mount Fuji, which turns out to be in Aokigahara. You know, the one colloquially known as the Suicide Forest. This is the final extra dungeon, and also the hardest, so it's recommended that you leave this for last. And I mean the next screen is the final boss type of last. It's just that hard. Heading there, the party finds a portal to a different dimension, which seems to have been caused by the overflow of malice from that one thing that happened back in the appointed tower. Despite Karen feeling like they should ignore it, Yuri feels somewhat responsible for the malice accident, so he decides to take care of it. This amount of malice just means that everything inside is completely fucked up, but at the same time, it means that it's the place with the coolest monsters. Absolutely love how one of them is just a transformed ant, which got so butthurt about being burned with a magnifying glass that he turned into something that could kill humans for revenge. They then find the source of accumulating malice, but to dispel it they must first use the nearby shrines, together with some special jewels which absorb the excess malice. There are 7 in total, so it still takes some effort, despite the dungeon layout being fairly easy to navigate. After activating all of the shrines, you can face the boss of the place, who turns out to be the 7 lucky gods of Japan, but after they have been corrupted by the excess malice. This also means that they are not here to fuck around, and are the most difficult fight in the entire game. The only advice that I can give you here is if you have extra keys, it is now time to use them. After punching the malice away, the gods thank the gang for helping them, and when you return to the mysterious man in the Forest of Wind, he will give Yuri his true ultimate weapon, the Panda and Kappa. Apparently, this entire dungeon is just a big setup for the next game in the series, Shadow Hearts from the New World, but that's for another time. With all of this done, it is time to face Caro once and for all. Okay, we're back and fully powered up, so how is the final dungeon? Well, the aesthetics are absolutely on point, I love everything that is happening here. In terms of actual level design, in the artbook, Mashida comments how this was supposed to be much more elaborate, but when it came time to finish it, they had to make some serious cuts. They even had a planned dungeon based on the works of the famous artist MC Escher, but unfortunately that got cut off too. Just the usual development antics, so it's fine. What we get here is pretty simple nevertheless. In the center there is this Tower of Hanoi looking thing, and you can spin each ring that you are currently on. You can use this to unlock paths to the last equipment pieces you might be missing, like Kurondo's and Lucia's best armor and the Dead Tarot card. Besides that, it's all a matter of climbing the tower by using these light elevators, and for that, all you must do is set up these rings with the green section facing forward. This will warp the entire party to the beginning and open the last elevator right next in front of you. After being engulfed by the bright light, Yuri finds himself one last time at the graveyard. He admits that until now, he has been living life in a day-by-day basis, but now he has finally learned the meaning of happiness, which to Yuri is living peacefully. John says their final goodbye and disappears at the same time that Yuri wakes up once again, now a man free of any regrets. Right ahead, the last two mutant apes await the party, guarding the entrance to the field of Takamagahara, where Kato is preparing the ritual. Of course, you have to fight them, and in their demon form no less, so I pay back in full by using Yuri's ultimate skill, which not only does a fuck ton of damage, but it also binds all enemies on the field. And without wanting to prolong this even further, I just pull out a 5th key and take care of them on the next turn. The next screen might be the best one in the entire series to this point. In retrospective, I'll assume that these are supposed to be the skeletal remains of Yamata no Orochi, and you'll see why in a bit. Finally, coming face to face with Karo, he combines with the powers of all the mutant apes to fuse into Susanoo, the most powerful of the ancient gods in Japanese mythology. Hey Karo, you might have realized I took a bit of a detour coming here, and I might have arrived a bit too late. But you wanna see a cool thing I found? Wanna see a magic trick? In the end, Karo seems glad to have finally been defeated, now free of all of his torment that he has been carrying for all of this time. But as he explains it, as soon as you enter Takamagahara, you can't return to the present. In return, they all have to pray for the world they wish upon the most. With his last breath, Karo gives his thanks to Yuri, no more as enemies, but friends. One by one, everyone begins disappearing, and when all there is left of the world is Yuri and Karen, the curse of the mistletoe begins to take effect, and after they promise each other that they will meet again, she finally disappears too.
I'll see you all again someday. The adventure is over. I've lost a lot. In the end, was it really worth it? Will the new future be any better? Anyway, my story is over. I can feel it. The mistletoe is finally stealing away my soul. Even if I can go back to my friends, I won't really be me anymore. But then again, if it means I'll be able to live the rest of my life in peace, I guess I couldn't ask for any more.
Finally, the mistletoe curse is over, and with it, so is Yuri. As the credits roll, showing all that Yuri has been through, it's also revealed where each of our friends ended up. Geppetto peacefully sleeping with what appears to be the real Cornelia, who is now alive and well. Kurondo and Anastasia are still together. Joachim went to the modern present day and continued his life as a wrestler. Lucia living in Man Mariana Island, waiting for Lawrence to return. And Blanca living happily with the Kawashimas. So then, what about Karen? Oh.
It was my mother who named me Yuri.
Oh no.
How did she pick that name?
I guess that was the name of her first lover.
Oh no.
She met my father when she was in Japan. And it was love at first sight for her.
Was she pretty?
I can't remember her face that clearly.
Yuri? I never thought I'd find you in a place like this. I've been looking all over for you.
Yuri? Who are you?
You don't even remember your own father? Such a foolish son.
My father?
Well, let's go home now. It's cold out.
No. This isn't right. Yuri would never choose this. His true happiness is living life his own way. Right to the end.
I know why you stayed there alone. You were afraid to lose yourself. You realized the only way to protect your soul and your memories was to die. The times you spent with your friends, your feelings for the friend you fought, all of your experiences to this point. All that is what made you what you are, made you into the man you are today. Yes, the man I know, the man I love. Now you don't have to suffer anymore. You don't have to be alone anymore. I'll always be right here by your side. Now we'll be together forever.
Whoa, that's bad. I almost overslept. It'll be here soon.
It's the world you secretly prayed for. The place your heart returns to. The time when you were the happiest. You can start your life over again.
It's that train. I kind of feel like a kid again.
What can one even say after all of this? How either ending tears your heart apart, or how they use the best track from the previous game to really nail down the sense of hope that Yuri now carries with him. The hope that this time he will make things right and save Alice, cause otherwise he will have to go through the same adventure with Karen, but this time he can't look at her massive tits, because that's just wrong. You've seen the tags in the beginning. Do you see incest anywhere in here? Knowing the series continue the story along by always following the bad ending, you would assume if there was a Shadow Hearts 3, they would do it again there too. But you would be surprised that in a somehow recent interview with Mashida, he believes that the bad ending of Shadow Hearts 2 isn't the real conclusion. Because after Yuri lived through all of this, he will lead Shadow Hearts 1 to the good ending. Fucking damn it, he will do it! But really, what now? There was another final Shadow Hearts game before the developer went bankrupt, but it's more of a spin-off set in North America, and honestly, from what I know from it, I don't have much interest in playing it, much less anytime soon. According to the same interview with Mashida, Kurando's father, Kieita Inugami, was planned to be the main protagonist of Shadow Hearts 3, along with Yuri's father, Shinpachiro. He was even given a design by the series artist, and it's a shame we'll never get to see this come to fruition. There was a strategy game called Chaos Wars, which is a crossover with a bunch of different games, and a lot of characters from Shadow Hearts appear there too. And if you want to see something really funny to take your mind off the sadness, go search for Chaos War voice acting on YouTube. I promise you, it's worth it. Either way, if you were one of the few that managed to stay with me throughout this entire journey, be it just in this video or on the entire series, you have my sincere thanks. It has been an honor, my friend. Until we meet again, take care.